Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Town Board, the Town of Red Hook Town Board meeting, Tuesday, August 11th, 2026. Would I kindly request that you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening. And Suzanne, if you would be kind enough to hand over to the big screen so we can show the folks at home what we'll be discussing tonight. We're going to start off with, as we always do for the first meeting of the month, the supervisor's report. That's a financial snapshot at any given moment. The clerk's report as well. Tonight we have a public hearing on a topic that has been the matter of several agendas and meetings, and that's the acquisition and disposition of Water District surplus lots over in the Linden Acres subdivision, and the potential to acquire them with the town's Community Preservation Fund programming. And we will have a public comment. I might make a slight suggestion tonight that we take public comment after agenda item number 1, because that'll be a segue right into that agenda item, which is the discussion of potential resolution to authorize the sale of those surplus properties in the Water District. And then we'll take public comment and then resolutions authorizing the sale of surplus items in the Highway Department. We're going to put one item up for auction, and we are going to sell an old van to Red Hook Village. We then have a resolution authorizing the town clerk to advertise or request for sealed bids for the purchase of ice control, abrasives, hot mix asphalt, and various materials. We do this each year, highway materials. We're going to discuss the bond resolution. You'll notice there are blanks in the bond resolution because it's not ready yet for prime time. We're going to continue some discussion on that Aspinwall Bridge. Some good news related to that, and decide whether or not we want to consider some alternative materials. If not, then we can go ahead and fill in and prepare a bond resolution for a subsequent meeting. We have the annual auditor results, and so we have our draft resolution to accept those audits. Number 6, we had to do an emergency replacement of the roof in the annex here in the building, and we had to take off the solar panels. We're about to put them back on, and the solar developer basically said, you know, they're quite old, 13 years, you might want to consider putting half as many on there, and they produce the same amount of energy, and you would have newer panels and safer installation. So we're going to take a look at that. If you recall, a couple of years ago, we got a grant for a drinking water source protection plan 2. And so we developed that plan, and that plan was finalized by the state. Oh, Bill, help me remember, maybe a year ago?
A little less.
A little less than a year ago. We're now at the point at which we're going to take some next steps, which is the implementation of the plan. So oftentimes you hear us talk about plans, and we're taking action related to a plan that was adopted either recently or several years ago. This is that process now where we're taking the second step, which is implementation. We're going to continue discussion. We had a request for a cannabis expo over at Greg Farm, and so we got some additional information right away, by the way. We've requested from Upstate Pines. And then Deanna's going to talk to us for a moment near the end of the meeting about voluntary shelter contributions on dog license applications. This is a fairly new thing through Ag and Markets as of last year, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's what we have for tonight's meeting. We've got some correspondence, and with that being said, Apologies for being about 3 or 4 minutes late on the public hearing. And Deanna, would you be kind enough to read the notice for tonight's public hearing? And we'll start with that, and we'll come back for the supervisor's report, clerk's report.
Notice of public hearing regarding disposition of Town of Red Hook Water District Number 1 surplus lots and acquisition under the town's Community Preservation Fund program. Please take notice that concurrent public hearings will be held by the Town Board of the Town of Red Hook on August 11th, 2026 at 7:35 p.m. local time at the Town Hall, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, pursuant to Town Law Section 19812, to hear all interested persons regarding the disposition of vacant properties described below by the Town of Red Hook Water District Number 1. The parcels described below are owned by the town on behalf of the Town of Red Hook Water District Number 1 Water District and are proposed to be declared as surplus property unnecessary for the Water District purposes. The proposed terms of sale are to be based on the estimated fair value of the Water District parcels as determined by the Town Board on the basis of an appraisal with receipts to be credited to the Water District. Please take further notice that a concurrent public hearing will be held at such time, date, and place pursuant to town's Community Preservation Fund program to hear all interested persons regarding the acquisition of an interest or right in real property to preserve open space pursuant to Section 247 of the General Municipal Law regarding the properties described below. The town proposes to purchase the parcels for purposes of preservation of open space, including protection of wetlands. The parcels are collectively approximately 8.55 acres and are identified on applicable tax maps as Aspinwall Circle 134-8889-6273-13-182357, approximate acreage per tax map 3.2, assessed value $60,100. 47 Albee Road 134-889-6273-13-186379, 2 acres, 57.7. Aspinwall Road 134-889-6273-13-188303, 1.80 acres, approximate $60,100. 12 Chestnut Street 134-889-6273-13-214-377, 0.63 acres, $34,800. Aspinwall Road 134-889-6273-13-156-333, 9.92 acres, $39,500. All interested persons will be given an opportunity to be heard in person or by directing comments in writing to the Town Board, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York. All reasonable accommodations will be made for persons with disabilities. In such a case, please notify the town clerk in advance so that arrangements can be made. Please take further notice that copies of materials connected with this proposal are available for review at the office of the town clerk at the Red Hook Town Hall, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York. By order of the Town Board of the Town of Red Hook, dated June 24th, 2026, Deanna Cochran, Town Clerk, Town of Red Hook.
Thank you, Deanna. Appreciate that. Many of you, I think, have been here at previous meetings, so you know the area that we're discussing, but in case you haven't been, we're talking about the area off of Aspinwall and Albee Road. To help orient you, I will let you know that when you come in Rec Park West over here on Linden, you have those stone dust paths. The exit comes out around here, and then you make your way to the Blue Trail over here if that's the way you want to come to the Winnicke Trails. These parcels that we're discussing tonight are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's new since we last met on this topic is we thought on this parcel here that there was a right of first refusal that existed to the adjoining parcel owner. It turns out when we got title work back that actually that right did not extend to them. It was a right that did not run with the land. It was to the owners at the time, and they are no longer the owner of that property. And so there won't be a conveyance, which seems to be fine with this adjoining landowner. They get a little strip here that they've been maintaining, which they still get to maintain. because that easement did run with the land. So that's an update for folks. And who would like to speak on this topic? I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Christina. All in favor? William?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
Myself, aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Christina. Who would like to speak on this? Would anybody like to speak on this matter?
Speak on it, Robert. My name is Al Trezza, 77 West Curly Corners Road, Red Hook, New York. Robert, the land is already in the name of the town of Red Hook. There is absolutely no legal justification for you to now offer for sale and buy it back. This is simply an opportunity for you to misuse community preservation funds to benefit the water district. And it's totally wrong. The water district does not own this property. The legal title is in the name of the Red Hook. You want to preserve it for open space? Don't do anything with it. You've already done it. There's no rationale for this at all. And I'd like to have your attorney present so we can question him or her as to what the legal justification is. I'd like to have them present here with us tonight, not coming in by Zoom. So I'd like to really know, and I'd like the public to know, this is mere subterfuge to bail out the water district. It's wrong, and you should not be doing this. And if the rest of you agree with him, you're also wrong. And I'm looking at you, Jacob, and you, William. You already own the property. Do you really believe that it's legal or proper to do this? It's like you selling your house to yourself, William. That's ridiculous, and you know that, and you shouldn't be doing it. Thank you.
Stealing.
Thank you, Albert.
Stealing.
Would anybody else like to speak on the topic?
My name is Jeremy Cohen. I live in Linden Acres. I've spoken at prior meetings supporting the preservation of this space. The land is integral to the character of the community. Linden Acres, if these were to be developed, would be no different than any other suburban strip subdivision. I understand that the gentleman has questions about the legality. I've heard at prior meetings the concept of a trustee and distinct ownership. As long as the town is comfortable and the lawyers are comfortable with that, I'm strongly in favor of preserving the space and urge you all to do so.
Thank you, Jeremy. Anybody else like to speak on this matter? No? Okay, I know that we've had previous meetings and folks, especially immediately surrounding the area, have had an opportunity to speak up. Many of them in favor of preserving the parcels. I did have a chance to meet with many of the adjoining landowners, and I saw some of you out on the road there. And so it seems like there's quite a bit of support within Linden Acres to go ahead and preserve these parcels. I would like to say that this is very consistent with some of the more recent projects we've done, partnering with Winnicke Land Trust to protect lands adjoining the Salt Kill for the preservation of the wildlife. And I just want to read off chapter Community Preservation. Acceptable uses includes the following: A, preservation of open space; B, establishment of parks, nature preserves for recreational areas. I think I read this at a previous meeting. C is agricultural, D is scenic, E is preservation of fresh water and saltwater marshes and other wetlands. F is preservation of aquifer recharge areas. G is undeveloped beachlands or shoreline. H is wildlife refuges for the purpose of maintaining native animal species diversity, including the protection of habitat essential to the recovery of rare, threatened, or endangered species. I is preservation of unique or threatened ecological areas. K is preservation of forested lands. L is preservation of public access to lands for public use, including stream rights and waterways. M is historic places, and N is undertaking any of the purposes of this subdivision in furtherance of the establishment of a green belt. And those are the uses that are detailed in the code, community preservation. I appreciate the thoughts. The question has already been answered by our attorney at a previous meeting as it relates, and in fact is referenced in the Community Preservation Fund Advisory Committee recommendation report that in fact the property is owned on behalf of the water district. We gave some other examples. The town acquired the streetlights. Some of the streetlights belong to the town, like in our rec park. Some of the streetlights belong to the lighting district, which is a separate entity, like a sewer district or a water district. It's all owned in the name of the town on behalf of either the lighting district or the water district, sewer district, or in this case, on behalf of
Robert, that's totally not true. You own the property. You don't own it on behalf of anyone. There is nothing in the deed that says you own it on behalf of the water district. You own the property now. And you're right. You read what the community preservation funds can be used for. I'm not disagreeing with that. What I'm disagreeing with is you already own it. You already own it. You don't own it on behalf of the water district. The water district is simply a district created within the township. If they owned the property, it'd be a different story, but it was never done that way. I was your attorney at the time of the transfer. The town owns the property. You cannot spend this money to buy property from yourself. You cannot use that subterfuge. It's wrong. And I want to tell you something else. Is this excuse me, is this subject to a permissive referendum with the spending of the town money?
Do you have more comments that you'd
I
like to
can't hear
make?
that.
Do you have more comments you'd like
I
to
want to
make
know,
for
is it subject to a permissive referendum,
the
Robert?
public hearing is to hear what you
Robert,
have to say.
is it subject to a permissive referendum, yes or no? You're not going to answer the question, Robert?
Thank you, Albert.
First call tomorrow is going to be to our attorney.
Thank you, Albert.
Now, answer the question, please. Yes or no?
Thank you. We'll make a determination if it's subject to permissive referendum. We'll
I
look at
can't
the
hear you, Robert. Speak up.
We'll look at the resolution. When we get to the resolution, we'll discuss that. Do you have more comments for the public hearing, Albert?
Robert, answer the question.
Thank you. Anybody else like to
Robert,
speak on the
answer
matter?
the question, please.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak on the matter?
Robert,
I have a
don't
question for
spend
Al.
this money
Please, this
foolishly.
is the public hearing time. Thank you.
When we close it, I have
More?
a question for Al.
Fine. Are there more comments from the public on the matter? All right. Shall we include in our review, we took a look at the seeker documents 1, 2, and 3. Does anybody have any questions about those in re-reviewing them? We have added to that, we have the Community Preservation Fund's advice on it. There was the question of ownership raised by one of the members. There was the clarification for the public's benefit.
Before we have this conversation, should we close the public hearing?
No, we don't have to close the
We
public
don't?
hearing, no.
All right.
If you'd like to make that motion, go ahead.
I move to close the public hearing.
Okay.
Nobody else is speaking.
I think we should leave it open.
Is there
I mean, we could close it when we're done discussing it, but, I mean,
Is there a second on closing the public hearing? Okay. We'll leave it open. All right. For now. So we also received the memo from the CPF Advisory Board. They spoke about who was in attendance. I think they mentioned I was in attendance, but I really wasn't. I was in my office working. They did come in and have a question or two.
That's not what I heard. You went in and convinced most of the people in that board to vote for this. That's
Sorry,
correct.
and I was asked a question about ownership.
Okay.
I gave my best answer and I went back to my office.
That's
Sorry.
not what I heard.
Well,
Anyway,
I'd be happy to have somebody come forward and say otherwise. So the question of ownership came up. The committee confirmed with Chris Shaw, Esquire, not there when that happened, town attorney, that based on town's record, the parcels proposed for acquisition were formerly owned by the Annandale Water Works Corporation. It's a transportation corporation. For folks at home, if you don't know how it works in New York State, when a developer comes in, they need to provide their own water and sewer for developments. They set up a transportation corporation. I'm sure somebody correct me if I get any details wrong. They have to own it for at least 5 years, and then when they abandon it, it becomes an obligation of the municipality. So know that that's something that could be coming down the pike with any developments like that. It was transferred. The assets were conveyed to the town for the benefit of, it says if, but I think they meant to say of, the Town Water District Number 1. Ms. Shaw also explained that because a town water district is not a corporate entity, the town holds property on its behalf and must account for the proceeds of disposition to the water district, just like we must account for, certainly when we're creating the sewer district, we must account for all the funds related to the sewer, and the lighting district, we must account for all the expenses associated with the lighting district and make sure that only those users, benefit users, they're called special benefit assessment districts, get charged for those expenses. The question came up about the expense and wanted to know what the balance is. The balance right now in the Community Preservation Fund is approximately $3.7 million.
So this is going to be, I would say, 8%?
Yeah, well, we have it, the resolution you'll see is for 222 for acquisition plus expenses up to 240.
How did we get to those numbers?
Well, you saw the appraisals, and the appraisals came out to 222. And so,
Can you bring up the appraisals?
I don't have it up on the screen, but I did print out some hard copies again, because maybe that would come out. So we have the appraisals broken up. There were 2 separate appraisals. As you know, we were initially looking at appraising the 4 parcels because we didn't think that we were going to look at the 5th parcel. We were going to sell that to the adjoining landowner because they had expressed interest in exercising their right, which is not something that is the case now.
Well, what jumps out at me is that the one, if you go to the packet, the sheet that shows the wetlands,
What? Sure. We have this one.
right, so that the parcel that's not a wetland parcel.
This one here.
Yeah,
Yep.
so what is the appraised value of that parcel?
$122,000.
And just, I think just read the other 4, what's the appraised value of the other 4?
100,000.
Sorry?
100,000. The 5 parcels total 222. Doesn't seem like a lot for 5 parcels of land already subdivided. And I think I explained Board of Health tries to work with property owners when they have already subdivided parcels to, you know, in many cases, you would know this, I'm sure, Christina, being in your profession, in many cases you have to do a above-ground septic or something if you have to stay away from environmental constraints, but they try to work with property owners who have existing lots of record. So 222 doesn't seem like a lot of money to me to protect this region,
So
and again,
Did we get one appraisal or two?
we got 2 appraisals. Because we initially thought we were doing just the 4 parcels, and then we had to get the 5th one appraised.
If you want to protect it, Robert, why doesn't the town board give them a Winnicke Land Trust and conservation easement for nothing? And it's protected.
Answer the question.
Folks, I think we've explained this. I understand you may not be satisfied with the answer, but it's been explained by our attorneys and it's been explained ad nauseum. We have a fiduciary, just like we do to the lighting district. We have to replace the lights. We have a fiduciary to the water district if we own something on their behalf to ensure that we are being fair to them as well as to the community preservation. It's been explained. Albert, I'm going to ask you to please not,
interest on it.
Albert, I'm going to please ask you to not interrupt. Okay, we're going to make it through here. We can just agree to disagree on this one, okay? Our attorneys have already explained it. There are many instances when a town owns something on behalf of a special benefit assessment district. You know this, you were a former town attorney. Okay.
So I just have a couple questions. So the reason I was confused is because in the packet, it's emphasizing the assessed value, like the tax assessed value.
You list the parcel
Right.
number, you list the assessed
Not
valuation.
interrupting her, Robert. Let her finish.
I'm answering her question, Albert. Yes.
Yeah,
So you
so-
list the assessed value, yeah.
Correct, so this was circulated a while ago in June.
Yeah.
Where's the second assessment? Or, sorry, appraisal?
Don't you have it there? Wait.
These are both from
Those are 2 separate appraisals.
from the same company? How does that work?
Same appraisals.
What? I don't get it.
We had an appraisal for the 4 parcels. When we realized we didn't have to offer the right to the adjoining landowner, we then asked them to also appraise the 5th parcel.
But where's the second
One appraisal.
appraisal?
We don't get 2 sets of appraisals.
Oh, that was what I asked.
No, we don't.
We get one appraisal?
Yeah, we don't often get two sets of appraisals. I mean, there's
Are
a
you
process
asking
of
from other appraisers?
No, I mean, we've
It's hard
had
to
other
get
issues.
appraisals.
I thought,
Appraisers these days.
there's been other issues that have come up. I thought we got 2 appraisals.
No, we don't always. In a small
Well,
thing
we
like
don't-
this, it's hard to get 2 appraisers these days, by the way. We could wait months for that.
What do you mean we don't
comfortable.
always?
We don't always get 2 appraisals.
But do we
for property.
sometimes?
I'm trying to remember.
It's like Jacob.
No, I don't think
Remember
so. I don't think so.
I don't know whose car that is.
I don't recall an instance where we've had 2 different appraisers. I mean, if you're not satisfied with the work, then sometimes you do get a second opinion. Says the man married to a physician, that, people do
Well, no,
sometimes get a
I
second opinion.
appreciate that the lot that is buildable was appraised for a higher value than the other lots. And I was confused because as I'm looking through the packet, which is what the public is seeing, we're looking at the assessed values and they're all kind of about the same. So that was confusing to me looking at this.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that it's important to say that the reason that we're doing this is because the water district has been charging lower rates for too long, and so this is to essentially bail out the close to 500 families that live in that district. And we've heard from people on multiple meetings, and there's been support for this. So I'm not against it, but I think that it's like it needs to be clearly stated like what the goals are and why we're doing this.
Sure. Well, I can't speak for others on the board, but I couldn't disagree with you more. There's no bailout here. First of all, the dollar amount is not significant enough to be all that meaningful to the water rates that are necessary to pay for this capital upgrade. This is something that, and we've
Well, that was
heard-
the second question that I was going to ask actually, was that if
hang on
we're
a
going to
second.
do this,
Hang on
then
a second. I
is
thought
this
we
going to
weren't
be enough
interrupted.
money to cover what the water district needs to get back on top of its costs?
Okay. So, if I could finish. We had the water board chairman come in here several months ago and explain that he has been for years saying that these are surplus properties. They don't need them. They would like to dispose of them. For years he's been saying that. There was no real reason to do it at any particular time. It seemed like when there was an upgrade that this would be a good time to do it. It's that simple. It's not a bailout. We've heard very hyperbolic comments. Over here we've heard scaring people into having 2 houses or something on properties. This is a suburban subdivision. There's nothing scary about 2 more houses where 100 already exist. And this is not a bailout. This district, like the lighting district, owns the lights, even though we own it, the town, on their behalf. It's a similar thing. They have made a decision that this would be the right time to dispose of these parcels. It will pay for maybe $210,000 of what we now know is a lower than expected project cost of $1.2 million or less. This is minuscule as it relates to the costs of operating Water District number 1. So whether it's in or out, it's not going to make a significant difference. But we have an opportunity still, as it turns out, because we've delayed the borrowing till next week. So we have an opportunity to apply these funds if we know that they're coming, since they've started the project already, if we so choose to move forward. And I can't for the life of me understand why we wouldn't move forward, but there you have it. There is no bailout. The water district and the water district rates will be just fine in the ensuing years, with or without this.
So now I'm even more confused though, because can you explain why we would spend 8% of our CPF funds on this land? Because what I heard from every person almost that came up and spoke about this was that the people that live in this neighborhood, they don't want this land developed. So the motivation was to say that we don't want this land sold. We don't want,
That's
you know,
exactly right.
more density in our neighborhood. And we heard from a whole bunch of people that lived in this the surrounding area, and I mean that's what I heard. But
Right.
it was almost confusion over what the issue was, right? So the land, like,
Never confusion with me. It might have been confusion with you. It was an opportunity to create a green space, a pocket green space.
Robert, I'm an intelligent person. If I'm confused, other people are confused. So I think that it's important to just say what we're doing and why.
I think you've reiterated, we've all reiterated, it's an opportunity to create a pocket green space in the middle of Linden Acres where, you know, there is biodiversity and there's wetlands to protect, and it's very consistent with a lot of the work that we've been doing.
So
All
all right.
Let me just finish, because you mentioned 8%. I'm not quite sure why that's significant, but $222,000. I think in the last 2 months that we've had collections, we've collected about $220,000 in the CPF fund. So if it's 2 months worth of collections or thereabouts, seems to me like a worthwhile cause. Once the CPF funds are used, then they can't be, the lands cannot be disposed of and developed for residential use, and that's what, you know, the folks we heard from tonight, but also in the previous meetings where we had more people here. So,
All right, so to be clear, so the land is currently owned by
it
the
is,
town.
the town
and
owns it on behalf of the water district.
on behalf of the water district.
Where does it say it in the deed?
It doesn't have to. Do you have children? Do you ever open a savings account for your kid? No, this is what it is. If you open a savings account for your child, the bank is not going to let a minor open their own account. So you act as a trustee, but you have a fiduciary responsibility to manage that account on behalf of your child. This is the same thing.
Yeah, but what you're saying that it could be built on, that could never happen unless this board agrees on it, okay? The deed is in the town's name.
Well, just to clarify.
Bill, you don't sell the
So
account
the
back.
town,
Just to clarify.
this board right now could put a we could talk to St. Augustine or DLC and put a conservation easement on that without buying it. I think it's a poor use of funds.
No, that's fine. We have a fiduciary. Look, you may not be used to having a fiduciary to two separate entities, but we have it in this situation. We have it with the water district that we're about to create. We've had it with the sewer district that we created 2 years ago. We've had it with the lighting district, which was created, I don't know how many years ago, but many years ago before me. We have a fiduciary to both. So when we purchase the streetlights, and you're going to see in the budget just how much money we've saved, both town taxpayers and people in the lighting district, because we transferred them all to LEDs and we own them and don't rent them from Central Hudson. We own them on behalf of the lighting district. We must account for those monies separately. They do not belong to us. Just because they're in our name doesn't mean that we don't have a fiduciary to the water district, okay? I think we've batted this around long enough, right? We can just agree to disagree, right? And if you don't want to expend the funds to permanently protect, and by the way, you can't just go to Winnicke and say, we want to put on this, because it's going to require the input of the water district in order to do so. And I don't think they're going to be very happy that they have an asset that has some value that you want to remove all the value because you would prefer that.
Wait, what?
Well, I'm gonna address that. Hank Van Parleys, who's the chair of, who runs the water department, and the water board, have repeatedly come to the town and said that these parcels, since they discontinued the wells, they viewed them as an asset of the water department to be considered for disposition at some future date. They've been very clear about that in these meetings, at their meetings that I've been present for, because I'm the liaison, and they view it as an asset, as an opportunity, and now they felt this was the right time to dispose of the asset. Now, this is the question I had for Al. You had said it's a bailout, and so did you down there. If the water department, if we as a town put them up for sale on the open market, would you still consider that a bailout?
Absolutely not. Put it on the open market. You're using community preservation funds, in my estimation.
No, I'm talking about the issue of a bailout. The issue of a bailout is trying to save a financially struggling organization.
Here's my answer to you. If you put it up for sale to the open market, which I think you should if you want to get rid of it, that's the proper way to do it, the money will go into the town's general fund, not into the water district fund. It is not owned by the water district, and you're not a fiduciary responsibility. You own it. You are responsible for it. And in the lighting district, you set the rates. The problem here is the water department, our water district, has been not properly managed on setting the rates and setting forth what's going to happen in the future. That's what's got me upset. These people need to pay for their district. Just like the lighting district pays for its district, the sewer district is going to pay for its district. Everybody pays. Look what happened in the village of Red Hook. Started out at $750 a year, and now they've doubled it. Because the sewer district needs the money. And that is the reason I'm objecting to this. You own the property, put it up for sale, put it in a general fund, save the taxpayers some money. The rest of the taxpayers in the town, including those in the water district.
Thank you.
Now, that is why I'm objecting to this.
Fair.
Fair enough?
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, it's our attorney's view that's not possible to put it in the general fund. Okay.
Wait, so Bill,
Yeah.
so I think it just needs to be clear, like, what we're doing. And I know you've spent a lot of time with the water board. And we just approved recently the rehab for the tank. And we talked about that the rates are too low. Like,
We raised the rates.
correct.
I think this situation is a little unusual in that it's a confluence of two different issues. It's a confluence of the issue of the water department has an asset that it has viewed as money in the bank for some time and has made the decision that it believes this is the time to liquidate. But it's also a confluence because this is an environmentally sensitive area. It's primarily wetlands. And I'll talk later about water source protection and about that report because the State Department of Health and DEC are very concerned about protecting our water. And to the extent that you are able to accomplish two things at once, that's why I think it's unusual. I have to take the advice of our lawyers on whether it's legal or not, because I'm not a lawyer. And I have done some research on the issue of being a fiduciary and trustees. There's a disagreement just because it says it in the deed that it's the town. My understanding is it was always set up that we act as their fiduciary. And since I have a fiduciary responsibility to the water department, and it's their asset, I know Al disagrees, but I see this as a twofer actually.
I could agree with you on the 4 properties that are potentially wetlands, because one could make the argument that they're not really going to sell on the open market because they're not buildable.
That's right.
And hearing the people that spoke at prior meetings saying we don't want density in this area, we value this open space, like, that makes sense to me. But the lot that is valued at, what was it, Robert, 120, like, why not sell that on the open market? Why not let a family buy that and build a home there? Like, I don't believe that it's gonna devalue the neighborhood if you put one more house on the one buildable lot that is left. So that doesn't make sense to me.
I'm trying to think where that the old aerial is.
Oh, where is it written that we have a fiduciary? Is it written somewhere?
Yeah, you can look up.
It's not on the deed. Is it stated somewhere?
You can look up special benefit assessment districts.
Can you talk into the mic, Robert?
Sorry, you can look up special benefit assessment districts, and there's whole laws regarding that and our role with them.
Well, why wasn't that presented to this board and to the people?
Kenny, we've explained this. The attorney was here to
No, you
explain this
explained it, but
before.
let's see it in writing. Let's see the document that shows that.
No, I agree. It's very confusing. Like I was so confused today looking at the packet because I'm looking at it going, all the parcels are valued the same and we didn't include the appraisal. Like, I just want to, I think it's very important that we tell the whole story completely. And Bill, I appreciate what you're saying that it's an asset to the water district. That makes sense. and if that's true, then buying land that's unbuildable could be a benefit to that district, but the buildable lot, I mean, that would sell for more than 120 potentially, so why are we buying that?
Hang on, Lisa. You're making these declaratory statements that are not helpful, Christina. That's not buildable. There are 4 lots there. We had our engineer, again, to help satisfy questions or concerns you have. We had our engineer look at these lots, and what did she say? That she felt very comfortable saying 2 houses could be constructed,
She did.
right? She did.
Yes.
Okay, and she has experience in that. And we know that Department of Health likes to work with, none of us have the crystal ball, likes to work with each independent lot of records so that they can help the landowners understand how they can build a house. And sometimes it's one of those above ground septics that, raised bed septics that are expensive. So that does devalue the parcel, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't build on those parcels. These are federal wetlands, and I think we all know that they lack the protections that they did once upon a time. So again, we go back to where we are. I'd like to be able to get through the seeker. I think we've all sort of...
No, but I'm missing, I need help like connecting the logic, because if this is an asset to the water board, Bill,
To the
like.
Water district.
Water district, okay. If this is an asset to the water district, then we want to get the most out of that asset that we can, given the feedback from the public, which is don't build on this land, don't create more density, we value the open space. Well, that one lot for the water.
You have an opinion that it might be worth more than 122,000. I don't know necessarily that I would agree with you, but I'm not an expert either. It has an easement on it, right? So the adjoining landowner can continue to use a portion of that.
Is that in the packet?
Yes, that's
Can
been
you show us?
explained. We went over all of that previously.
And Christina, if it didn't have that easement,
Yeah.
I'd be in agreement with you. But I think that's a complication that is,
Guys, that's why we have a
But the
appraiser.
easement would go to the town, right? If the town bought it, then the easement would belong to the town?
No,
No?
Carrie, please, no.
What do you mean, please? You're treating me like you're treating Christine like it's not important what we're asking. I think
It's an easement to maintain a portion of that parcel. It does not go to the town. I explained earlier, and I realized that you came in.
Can you show us
Carrie,
the
I'm sorry.
language?
I explained earlier, and I realized you came in late. I explained earlier that the easement to
Roxanne's been
maintain.
here the whole time and she doesn't understand that either, so I
Okay.
don't think I missed anything.
I'll see if I can get an aerial up, and I can explain to you that there is an easement, as I have in previous meetings, where the adjoining landowner can maintain a portion of that property. I don't know that I have a good aerial here, but I can give you my best iterations. Over here, there's a triangle that exists. If you look at my cursor,
Robert, I'm gonna need to
This is
see
in
like
the-
the language of the easement or the meets
the
and bounds
title
of the easement.
report was shared. The title report was shared, and it is not a means. Title report was shared, and it's maintained. I can show you on parcel access. This adjoining landowner is maintaining a triangle here that runs with the land. The right of first refusal, as I explained earlier, the title company reported does not exist.
So
for this
hold on,
current
let's just zoom out for a second. So what are we trying to accomplish tonight?
Tonight, we're going to entertain a resolution to dispose of and to acquire these parcels. We're now on month, I don't know what, with this. And if we'd like to apply it towards the principal, we can figure it out now that we've delayed.
So we're essentially, we're having a closing on these parcels.
Not tonight, we are entertaining the approval, but we need to get through a couple of
So,
steps.
no, I need to understand, so, what are the next steps after this? It's gonna come back before us, or are we making a decision tonight whether we're gonna buy
We need to just finish. Is any questions on the seeker? Any questions
But
about the
I don't understand.
referral? These
Are
are
we-
things,
Christina, did you read the resolution?
I did, but you know what? I think that a lot of people are confused. And so what would be helpful is for us to summarize, like just in plain language, what we're doing.
The parcels are surplus. We're
Yes.
looking to acquire them under the CPF to preserve them
Yes.
as open space.
yeah, I think that's it. Is there
So-
more? Is there more?
Well, yeah, because like if this is, so my question was, I mean, this is a reasonable question. Like if we're buying these parcels, this is our real estate closing on these, our decision tonight is the last part of acquiring these parcels. And we don't even have the language of the easement, like,
You've been shared the title report
yeah,
that has all of them.
where is it?
You've been
Pull it up.
You've been shared the title report, which describes it. If you look in the appraisal, you can also see the mode area that has an area. It's about the line that I described.
Well, maybe it'll be helpful to understand what the basis of the easement is.
Yeah.
And
It's a
Kenny
maintenance
knows
easement.
this because he used to drive, there was
I
a
know, we
driveway
talked
that
about it,
went
but-
diagonally
The
up to
adjoining-
the property.
Yeah.
You don't buy a
In plain-
property without looking at the language of
It's
the
plain.
easement.
I'm going to give you the plain language of the easement, is that adjoining.
Can you speak up?
The adjoining landowner has the right to continue to maintain this triangle here. He can even put up fencing.
We can't,
Yeah.
you moving your mouse on the page is not like we're gonna close on this land, like,
Okay. Jeremy, is there more you would like to contribute, please? Yeah.
Yes, I
That's what I would like to get.
Because I understand Christina's question, and I think,
Can you talk into the mic?
sure.
Thanks.
I understand Christina's question, and I also understand that there's a fair bit of rancor both within the town as well as within the board about other issues that have made it perhaps more difficult for everybody to communicate clearly and to believe that everybody is coming from the best of intentions. I think that everybody in this room loves this town. Everybody, including Robert, including William, including Ken, including Jacob, including Christina. Christina, I understand your question to be, if there's a potential buildable lot, why sell to the Community Preservation Fund if the land is owned in trust for the water district? What I would like to say is that I assume the appraisal has taken into account the easement as well as all other relevant considerations within the context of the land in determining the appraised value of that land. As such, if you're looking to maximize the proceeds from the perspective of the water district as you're acting as trustee for, I think it's perfectly appropriate then to rely on that appraisal. And the question that you were raising, I think is answered by that. And I understand the reason why you might have been frustrated by the response of some of the members of the board there. But I think that everybody is working towards the same thing there. And I think that's how you square those two circles in conjunction with what Bill was saying in terms of being able to effectively kill two birds with one stone, which is maximizing proceeds for the water district as well as maintaining and preserving land for in furtherance of the purpose of the fund.
Thank you, Jeremy. Okay. Folks, I want to get to the seeker part of it. We've had, the only new additions has really been the update as it relates to the ROFR and the CPF advisory. We reviewed in previous meetings part 1. We did a review of part 2 as well. Are there any questions that you had? I didn't hear any. Obviously, the impacts are no or small. There's not a development proposal. This is simple form.
I was going to ask on the part 3, I don't know if we're getting to that yet. It's marked as the potentially largest significant adverse impact.
Yeah, that was the wrong box was checked. I think we corrected that on a previous thing, but we should make sure that this one is corrected.
Yeah, it's the wrong box, I think.
Yeah. so we corrected that in the last one. Let's make sure this looks like it didn't have it's the May 6th date. So that correction never got in that box.
The other thing that's not corrected is this application. It says all the parcels are federal wetlands.
Right,
Four.
and that was the other, and it was that since we increased the application to be the 5th parcel, it says federal wetlands run through each parcel. We should clarify that to say run through the 4 parcels.
Maybe you could bring your
As
mic
mapped.
closer to your mouth, because I know you're just talking to each other, but we'd like to hear. I'm sorry, it's really hard to hear you, Robert.
Sorry,
Maybe you
just
could,
make sure the application clearly states that now that there's a 5th parcel, the federal wetlands run through 4 of the parcels as mapped. And it says see maps provided. Description of property, former well site. The town wishes to purchase the parcels for water resource protection. No current or future plans. It'll be entrusted if this were to be voted upon tonight and then closed on via CPF funds and could not be sold for development in the future. And there will be a pocket green space in the middle of Linden Acres. So for part
Bill,
3,
Bill?
the description, wait, let's just see if we get through part 3, please. Christine, if you have questions
Sure.
related to that. For each of the 11 impact assessment
maybe if
questions.
you put the microphone closer to your mouth, it would
You having a
help
hard
us.
time hearing me?
I am.
Yes.
Okay. For each of the 11, and I'll get to that so you can read it while I... There we go. In case you can't hear me, this is what I'm reading from. For each of the 11 impact assessment questions in part 2, all answers were no impacts. The action is the addition of 5 undeveloped parcels of land, forming a collection of parcels that as a group are contiguous with Red Hook's Recreation Park West and the Winnicke Land Trust, Inc.'s Sawkill Trails Preserve. No development is proposed on the parcels since the parcels abut lands used for passive recreation activities like trail walking and bicycling. Connections with existing trails may occur in the future. The parcels contain extensive wetland and floodplain areas according to Hudsonia, which surveyed the adjoining Winnicke lands. The area's wetlands generally are important for amphibian breeding and support several bird and reptile species of greatest conservation need. No trail development activities will occur without further environmental assessment and, if needed, obtaining permits from appropriate state and federal agencies. According to state parks and rec and historic preservation CRIS database, no prehistoric or historic cultural resources are associated with the 5 parcels nor with any of the lands that adjoin the parcels. Web mapping databases of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation were queried to determine if any state records exist related to the 5 parcels, including the Hudson Valley Natural Resource Mapper and the DEC Info Locator. None were identified. The parcels have significance to water quality because 2 tributaries of the Sawkill flow through 4 of the 5 parcels. The Sawkill is a source of drinking water to approximately 2,800 persons downstream. Prime farmland soils exist in some areas. Riparian buffers follow the outlines of the 2 tributaries, and contiguous habitats exist linking the parcels with the town parkland and the Winnicke Land Trust Preserve parcels. Finally, no adverse impacts on the water district are expected because the parcels are no longer used for the district's wells and may not be a suitable location for new wells under current regulations. And the box is checked for if you have determined based on the information and analysis above and any supporting documentation that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. The mapper is included as part 3 for the neg deck. Any questions about the narrative there? I think that clarifies some of the questions about 4 out of 5 parcels. Bill?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying that the application that we submitted.
Right.
Can you talk into your mic? It's just I'm having the hardest time hearing you people.
Okay.
No, I'm talking about Bill. I don't know
Yeah.
what you just said.
I don't know if the volume is low. Bill, if you want to grab that.
If you just move them closer to yourselves.
Okay.
What I said is in the application for the CPF, it states incorrectly that wetlands run through all 5 parcels, and I said we have to correct that.
Okay, so we'll clarify federal wetlands as it's described in the seeker, run through the 4 parcels as mapped. Now that we are looking at 5 parcels. Okay, that change is made as well. We have reviewed the CPF Advisory Committee's recommendation. The majority spoke in favor of the purchase. I think I've read the long list of acceptable uses of the funds. Many of the categories are relevant and explain why we've used CPF funds for adjoining Winnicke Land Trust lands. I think, Kenny, we used some CPF funds to acquire properties owned by your uncle there in the Winnicke Land Trust for state water preservation on the Saco there. All right, is there anything, we still have a public hearing open. On the,
Close it stands.
it stands, all right, do you want to deal with a vote on the neg deck, shall we? I don't think we have a resolution, we do, well, the neg deck itself is a resolution, yeah.
So I have a question.
Sure.
So I'm reading from the meeting, the CPF meeting,
Yeah.
and it states that parcels proposed, factors,
Hey, Kenny, can you bring your mic closer?
parcel,
Just use mine.
Yeah.
were formerly owned by Annandale Waterworks Corporation, a transportation corporation, and were conveyed to the town for the benefit, if, I think that's a typo, of the water district. So how were they conveyed? I mean, how do you convey it from the Annandale Waterworks Corporation to the town water district? And now the town holds them on behalf of the water district. So all I'm asking for is where, I would like to see the document that shows these, how they were conveyed and
I think that those documents exist in the clerk's office, I think in 1983 or so, going off of recollection.
so I just want to see the legal document. And I think that should have been, you know, brought up months ago so we could see the connection between the town and the water district.
Okay, I think it's been explained.
I know it's been explained. Can I see it in writing? Where it's in the document of the, you know, you said it's somewhere in the town and it says, Chris said it, so why can't we see
I think
it?
we've talked about it for months. Kenny, if you wanted to see that document, I think it's appropriate that maybe you had asked for it months ago. We've explained that it is owned by the town, right? It's not in dispute on behalf of the water district.
Right, I understand.
I feel like we're just wasting a lot of time
Robert,
repeating.
what is the,
right?
so I'll tell you this, I'm in support of the neg deck on the seeker.
Okay, so
What
let's
is
see if
the-
we can get that
What,
accomplished.
all right, but
Okay.
what is the timeline here? What
The time
the
is
rush?
if we'd like to apply it to the rehab project, we should vote on it.
Exactly, so this money is needed for the rehab project, which is why I said it's a bailout.
It is not a bailout. I mean,
And
that's
it's
really
not,
not.
and it's not needed,
That's
it
not-
just
it's not-
lowers the debt for everybody
It's not,
else.
it's really not appropriate. I mean, you know, get your sensational headline that you want to get your, you know, if that's what you'd like.
Can you answer?
I'd like
the
to
question?
continue to move, I'd like to continue to move forward with the work of the town, please.
Well, I
You
think
can
I'm-
vote no on
Robert,
this project if you don't
I will
want.
tell you that I am likely in support of the purchase if we have all of the information, and if I can understand all the information, which I currently don't.
Okay.
So I can't, I will
Well-
support the neg deck, but I can't vote on this tonight because I don't have information on the easement. I mean, Kenny made a good point.
You've been sent the information on the easement.
Well, I mean, we're not,
The public doesn't know.
why isn't it not in the packet? Then
The
just,
title
like,
title
pull it up.
report is an extensive
So
title report.
we're
that
sitting
goes
here,
over.
then let's go through it.
We're not gonna go through a 60-some-odd page.
An easement?
document, Sorry. We're not gonna, it's a full title report. The language of the easement is within that large document. We've explained it to you, we've done this in previous meetings, we showed you exactly where the easement was, we showed you the aerial. I feel like we're just reiterating the same thing.
No, I mean, we did talk about the easement, but I haven't seen any language.
Yes, you were sent the title report, which includes the language of the easement.
Then let's just look at it.
What would it
It's
change for?
840.
What would it change for?
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to see, like, besides Robert moving his mouse on the screen, I don't know where the actual easement is. I mean, Kenny said he knows from living in the area that there used to be a driveway there. We talked about that at a few meetings, but, like, I would like to see the boundaries of the property and understand how much of it is an easement and how much of it is buildable, because it affects the value of the land, just like we're looking at like a wetlands map. If we're just talking that, okay, there's wetlands, and we don't know where the wetlands are, the whole thing is very loose to me. We didn't get the wetlands flagged, we don't have two appraisals, and can anybody back me up that we just talked about another property that we were getting two appraisals for? Bill? Jacob, Ken, did we not talk about this recently?
What are you referencing?
I'm not sure,
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking
I
about.
really don't know what you're talking about.
Like, do you know what it is? Or are you just like, do you have something in mind you're trying to like talk about, but you're not talking about?
Yes, I mean, I can't say things that we talked about in an executive session, but there were other properties that we talked about getting two appraisals for.
Okay.
Am I crazy?
I just think you're mistaken, I don't think you're crazy. Here's the aerial, okay? The easement language in plain terms allows them to continue to mow and maintain the area that
Robert,
they
that's
have.
parcel access, that's not easement language.
That is the language in the easement.
You can actually
Okay.
see it on
You
parcel
can see it
access.
on parcel access.
Part that's green,
Come on, you would never,
I guess I don't understand what
This
that
is the way it was written, we would not write it this way. This is the way it was written years ago, it was written between the developer and the adjoining landowner. We would maybe have meets and bounds, but that's not the way it was written, okay? And so,
truthfully,
This is
I am
what
not
we
trying
have.
to be difficult. I do not think that we have, you would never sign all the closing papers for this property if you don't have this information in front of you.
I have the information.
And to
You've
say that
been
you
shared
sent
the
it in
title
an
report.
email and it was circulated, no, like you gotta,
Okay.
it's unclear.
Let's see what steps we can make. You've said you.
Seeker.
Seeker. So we have a neg deck proposal as drafted, as modified with the change there. Who would like to make a motion to approve a neg deck
I will.
on the
I
acquisition?
will make a motion to approve the neg deck on the seeker.
Okay. Who would like to second that?
I'll second.
Thank you. Well, is there further discussion on the negative? Okay. All in favor? Kenny?
Aye.
William?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Jacob?
Aye.
Aye. Christina?
Aye.
Okay. So we've got a neg deck, we've got a referral, we've discussed a couple of things that not everybody is happy with the explanation. That's the way the world works. Not everybody is happy with explanations. We've, I think, spent a lot of time on this. We've spent many months on this issue. We've discussed these parcels ad nauseum. We've discussed the purpose of these parcels, that it was a two birds with one stone type of a situation. And here we are. And if you're in favor of the project, it would be nice to know so that we can go ahead and entertain a resolution, which we have drafted. It's now 8:45. We have a lot of business in front of the board.
Can't do that till we close the public hearing.
Yes, sir. Would you like to make that motion?
I'll just continue the motion I made previously to close the public hearing.
I'll second your motion.
Thank you.
Okay. Further discussion about that? All in favor? Kenny?
Aye.
William?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Jacob?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
All right, so the resolution is for the town's potential acquisition. It's authorizing the disposition of the Water District Number 1 surplus lots and acquisition, so it's a twofer in the resolution, under the town's community preservation program. I'm going to read the resolution. Whereas the town of Red Hook, on behalf of the town of the Water District, owns parcels located in Red Hook, identified on applicable tax maps that's been read to you before, collectively totaling approximately 8.5 acres. Whereas the surplus Water District parcels are vacant parcels formerly the site of water source wells, which the Water District's Water Board has determined are unneeded for purposes of the Water District. Whereas the proposed terms of sale are based upon the estimated fair value of the surplus Water District parcels, and the estimated fair value is $222,000. The public hearing was duly held by the town board on the 11th day of August at 7:35 at Town Hall, in accordance with town law, and discussion on the matter having been had, and all persons desiring to be heard having been heard, including those in favor of and those in opposition regarding the disposition. Whereas pursuant to Chapter 57 of the Town Code, the town board has established a community preservation fund and the project plan, and the board has referred the application to the advisory committee duly appointed by the board for review of such application and rating according to the program criteria established under the plan, taking into account the importance of the resource and the anticipated availability of funding by others and availability of funding under the town's Community Preservation Fund program. Whereas the town has recognized in its plan adopted pursuant to Chapter 57 that the open space is vital to the future social, economic, and environmental health of the town, and whereas pursuant to the town's CPF program, the town is proposing to purchase the surplus Water District parcels for the purpose of preserving open space, including wetland areas. And whereas the surplus Water District parcels were identified in the CPF plan as a high priority for preservation based on ecologically significant areas and significant biodiversity areas. Whereas a concurrent public hearing was duly held by the town board on the 11th day of August 2026 at 7:35 prevailing time at the town hall in the town, in accordance with section 57.5 of the town code and section 247 of the GML. And discussion on the matter having been had, and all persons desiring to be heard having been heard, including those in favor of and those in opposition regarding the acquisition of an interest or right in real property to preserve open space with respect to the surplus Water District parcels, including use of monies from the CPF fund, And whereas the Community Preservation Fund Advisory Committee has reviewed the proposed acquisition of the surplus parcels based on the priority ranking set forth in the CPF plan and provided its findings dated July 22nd. Sufficient monies are available in the fund, whereas on May 27th, the town board adopted a negative declaration under secret determining that the proposed disposition of the surplus parcels and the acquisition from the Community Preservation Fund will not have a significant adverse effect. Therefore, be it resolved, the town board, by the favorable vote of not less than a majority, finds that the surplus water district parcels are unneeded for the purposes of the water district and that the disposition of the surplus water district parcels on the proposed terms of sale is in the best interest of the town. The town board finds that the acquisition of the water district parcels is consistent with the town's Community Preservation Fund project plan and will preserve open space, including wetland areas on the water district parcels, and that acquisition is the best alternative for the protection of community character of all the reasonable alternatives available to the town. The town board approves the disposition of the surplus water district parcels for purchase of price of $222,000 and the expenditure of Community Preservation Fund monies in an amount not to exceed $240,000 for the acquisition of the water district parcels and related costs. The supervisor or in his absence, the deputy is hereby authorized and directed to execute such deeds and conveyance instruments as are consistent with this resolution. The officers, employees, and agents of the town are hereby authorized and directed for the name and behalf of the town to do all acts and things as may be necessary or in the opinion of the officer, employee, or agent acting desirable and proper to effect purposes of the foregoing resolution. So that's the resolution. We have spent many meetings on this. I realize that not everybody is completely satisfied on some of the answers. That is the way it goes sometimes. I think it's important to protect these parcels for that green space for the area. If there's nothing we've done in the town of Red Hook that's been a leader in protecting green space for our community, it is the economic driver of this town. The people move here and invest here because of the quality of life. We have an opportunity to once again to enhance the quality of life in this particular neighborhood, and we find ourselves doing it in each and every neighborhood throughout the town. And so I'm ready to entertain this resolution, and I know that not everybody may be at this time. Thoughts? You do have a resolution. What number would it be, Deanna?
40.
40?
I just find it frustrating. I think that things could be a lot easier if we were just kind of working together and I want to support this, but I feel like I'm hitting a roadblock when I ask questions about it. And as somebody who's elected to represent people, I imagine, like, if I have questions about it, other people have questions about it, right? Like, it's...
Well, I hope you see that I can't speak for any other board members. I think we've tried to answer your questions, Christina. I mean, you may have questions well beyond the time of acquisition of these parcels. But at some point, we do have to
do not
fish or
feel like
cut
you answered my questions.
Well, I appreciate that. I did say, not
And what-
everybody may feel their questions have been answered to the degree. I would suggest, however, if you have additional questions that you want, please give me some more time. You had a question about a form that was actually in there, a memo that was actually in the document where it was. Give us time, not at the meeting, to say, oh, can you go get this or go get that? We've been talking about this for months. So if you have questions, I would encourage you to maybe develop that list of questions a little sooner so that, I mean, we are on probably 10 months of this. I don't know, I'm just putting it out there. something like 10 months for the acquisition of these parcels. So I think that if you give the list of questions, we'll do the best that we can. But recognize our job is to advance the interests of the township. It isn't necessarily to answer all the questions that you have, though we are trying to do that.
Oh,
Okay.
I wholeheartedly disagree.
That's
When
fine.
there's questions,
I hope
they
you
can't
see
be
that we're
answered.
trying
I
to,
mean,
I hope you see we're trying to get you the answers to the questions that you have, but we don't know what questions are going to come up, and at some point we do have to take action.
in the 10 years that I was on planning board, when there was a question, you can't think of everything about every project all the time.
Sure.
But when there was a question,
Sure.
and somebody on the board would say,
Yeah.
oh, what was that thing about the thing? We would pull it up. We would pull it out of the file and be like, oh, here's the answer.
I think we're trying to
No,
pull
you
up things
haven't
for
given the answers, and like, that's frustrating to me.
I'm
Because
sorry, I'm
I
sorry you
think
feel
that I'm asking very basic questions.
Yeah, well, I did my best to try to answer those questions, but if I can after tonight as well, I'd be happy to resend you things. I reprinted things out for you. I mean, I can't, at some point, I work for everybody, so I need to continue to advance the progress in this community. So I think 10 months, lots of questions, a lot of repetition, some of the comments that people have made. I'm ready. I'm ready to take action on this. I don't know how others feel.
Is that a motion?
It sounds like a motion. I'd like to move resolution number 40, please, as both described and shown.
The liaison for the water department and water district. I would second that.
Okay.
On their behalf.
I hesitate to say further discussion, but I'm going to say it, further discussion. Okay. If not, all in favor? Kenny?
Nay.
All right. William?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Jacob?
Aye.
Christina?
Nay.
Okay. The resolution passes. Thank you very much. Thank you
You
all.
can talk into the mic.
Thank you all who attended, not only tonight's public hearing, but all the previous meetings. As you see, democracy has both people in favor of and against certain matters. I will remind everybody the most contentious thing still to this date that occurred in the town of Red Hook, as documented, was the CPF, was also, now 20 years later, probably the most transformative. It was put to public referendum as required by law and passed by, I think it was 33 votes, timing being what it was with the real estate crash of 2007. Without CPF, we would not have the ability to protect much of the farmland, certainly in West Curly Corners. We heard from Mr. Trezor tonight. We were fortunate enough to be able to partner with him protecting that farm and adjoining family-owned farms. Mr. Magalorelli as well. Many farms.
Robert, listen,
I'm explaining.
I'm driving to the city at 3 a.m. tomorrow morning, so.
I agree with you. I'd like our meetings to
let's
run
get-
as well.
We're done with this. Let's move
Let's
on.
go,
So-
let's move on, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
With that said, our next item on the agenda, we're going to take some
Public
public
comment.
comments. Who would like to make some general public comments tonight? Thank you all for coming. Roxanne, if you'd be kind enough to,
Roxanne Fisher, Barrytown.
thank you.
I am informing the board and the public that I have received formal confirmation from the Office of the New York State Comptroller acknowledging receipt of my 4th supplemental complaint. This formal submission to Chief Auditor James Latainer's team documents a persistent pattern of fiscal impropriety, statutory non-compliance, and compounding municipal waste. In his July 17th coverage with Daily Catch, Supervisor McKeon admitted his intent to divert open space revenue, stating verbatim, "When we conclude the final two elements of the Cookingham project, we will have, not because that we intended to, we will have made enough already on Cookingham, so much money on that project, we will have paid for not only these legal fees, but any ensuing legal fees." To be clear, under New York State Town Law, Section 64H, CPF funds are restricted solely for open space preservation, not a slush fund for general litigation and court defeats. Furthermore, on June 25th, Justice Rosa handed this town its second major court defeat, striking down local laws B and C for continuous seeker non-compliance. In spite of multiple lawsuits, our foils to the town had not yielded any invoices for 2026, which must mean that there are skyrocketing costs from our legal partners for multiple lawsuits. Finally, the board continues to ignore insurmountable realities, restrictive deed covenants barring public parks, and an open, active CSX rail line bordering the access route. No amount of money can offset the catastrophic safety liability of routing public park traffic alongside active train tracks. Councilmember Ducharme was entirely correct when she noted on the record the total lack of basic planning behind this project. The current 3-2 block is squandering public money on an unviable project. But 3-2 majorities are not set in stone. Tonight, I appeal to Hamel and Tester. You have seen the court rulings, the mounting legal bills. You know the severe liability risks of the site. Continuing down this path exposes our town to continuous financial and legal jeopardy. Step forward, re-examine the facts, and vote to rescind your previous authorization for these eminent domain proceedings. Restore fiscal integrity to Red Hook.
Thank you, Roxanne. Would anybody else like to make some public comments?
Lisa Polaro, Al Trezza, West Corner Road. Lisa Polaro was unable to stay. She had other meetings tonight. She asked me to read this on her behalf. At the July 14th board meeting, many of us witnessed unprofessional behavior by Council Member Jacob Testa directed at Council Member Christina Ducharme. That behavior was also the subject of a fair number of social media comments. Council Member Testa repeatedly interrupted her, spoke in harsh and raised tone, and turned his back on her while she was speaking. When Council Member Ducharme requested to serve as a point person for communications regarding a recently filed lawsuit, Council Member Testa accused her of being biased in favor of the Boat Club. Accusing a fellow board member of bias simply because she unapologetically listens to her constituents and is a blatant double standard. By that same logic, Council Member Testa's consistent voting record against the Boat Club demonstrates his own undeniable pre-existing bias. What Council Member Testa characterized as bias is in fact the desire of most of the community, and we applaud Council Member Ducharme's commitment to speaking on behalf of the constituents. We have witnessed similar behavior by the supervisor. You will recall his condescending tone to a very capable and highly regarded highway superintendent as he disputed her well-researched vehicle recommendations and lectured her on following procurement procedures. How ironic, at the same time, behind the scenes, he was engaging multiple law firms without following proper approval procedures. And many of us recall his dismissive and exclusionary treatment of the former town clerk and deputy town clerk. One might notice a common theme among the targets of such behavior. Councilman Testa, that is not the behavior you should want to emulate. Not only is it disrespectful, and unprofessional, but it is certainly unbecoming of an associate dean of civil rights. Disagreement is a natural and healthy part of local governance, but berating a colleague, cutting off debate, and using hostile behavior is completely unbecoming of an elected official representing this town. The residents of this town deserve a town board that treats each other with dignity and basic courtesy. The conduct we witness sets a dangerous precedent for how business is conducted in this hall. Respectfully submitted, Lisa Polaro.
Thank you, Al. Roland, would you like to make some remarks?
Absolutely.
Wait a minute, I got one more. Go ahead, I'll ask my own question here.
Folks, if we could, we'd like to keep it to 15 minutes as we have.
Roland
our
Page,
rules.
Town of Red Hook.
Thank you, Roland.
Mr. Tesla and Mr. Hamel, without town board approval, you have been parties along with the dictator to the illegal squandering of local taxpayers' money to the sum of $300,000. Shame, shame. How much more has been spent by the dictator without local approval? Shame, shame. I believe this money could have been better spent by the residents for their personal needs. The Board of Elections has a total count of 862 voters in the town of Red Hook. This $300,000 expense paid for by tax-paying voting residents, people you'll be talking to in the next year, if you want to run again, may be allocated as follows. Registered Democrats, 144,510, 48.17%. Registered Republicans, 59,280, 19.76%. Other enrollments, $96,210, 32,007%. Residents deserve open government, honest representation, majority rule, not the past practice of hidden in executive session perpetuated by the dictator. Afraid to let the consultants hear discussion and compromise and the truth, Mr. Dictator? Shame, 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 all of you.
Thank you, Roland.
Thank you for
Anybody else?
that.
Sorry, thank you. Anybody else like to make some comments?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment on my own behalf, or a question on my own behalf. For the last year, Robert, you and Bill and Jacob have indicated that it is your position that the majority of the town is in favor of your eminent domain proceeding. At the last meeting, Christina made a motion to hold a public referendum. Well, and you all voted no, the three of you. I don't understand it. If you believe that the residents of this town are behind you in this matter on eminent domain, why not hold a public resolution? Show us that you're right. Show us that you're correct. Quite frankly, I don't agree with you because I think no matter what your station in life is, what your political persuasion may be, whatever your personal feelings may be, people really resent a government taking and stripping people of their property rights. But I'd like you to reconsider your thoughts. Not this meeting. Christina, I asked the next meeting to make the motion again. Let's see if you guys can reconsider and show us that you really believe that the public is behind you. And as far as the cost is, it's nominal. You've already spent $300,000 fooling around with lawsuits. And now you've got 5 of them pending right now. So a few $1,000s to hold a public referendum is peanuts in this matter. Show us you're right. Show us you're correct, Robert, Bill, Jacob, that the town is behind you. Vote for the permissive referendum, and let's find out. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll take one more. Thank you, Carrie.
Carrie Kittner, Barrytown, New York. Actually, Al covered what I wanted to say. I had heard that there was a motion for a referendum. And actually, I hate to point at you, Jacob, after you've been kind of pointed at already, but I know that you and I share being democratic socialists, and I think your reason for wanting the boat club is because you think it should belong to everyone. But that's just socialism. That's not democratic socialism, which is really different. Socialism is when a powerful government takes things from the people and decides for them how it should work. Democratic socialism is allowing a democracy to decide, and that is the people. So you can't be for democratic socialism and vote against a resolution that is dividing this town in a way that is breaking my heart. We started with the Pledge of Allegiance, and when I was thinking about socialism, I was like, oh yeah, a lot of people think of socialism because we grew up with the USSR. But that was never socialism. That was communism and oligarchy and powerful government. Real socialism is actually for the people. And then when we were talking about the United States of America, I think about how that's not really true anymore in so many ways, and we're not the United States anymore. We're like the divided states, and I feel like it's happening here in our town, and it's really distressing. And so as a democratic socialist, and that means that I'm for Social Security and public schools, but I am not for taking from a collective, which this group, this boat club, number one, I'm for social clubs. This is a social club, and I think people should be allowed to have clubs, and they're a little community of 100 families, so that's hundreds of people sharing 2 acres of land, and you want to take it for everyone? Like, it's a limited resource. Like healthcare, that's a big resource, and schools, and that's like for everyone. This is not for everyone. This is for like people who have motorboats. So anyway, just want to say, as a democratic socialist to another democratic socialist, please, let's have a referendum. Let it be a democracy.
Thank you, Karen. We're going to get on with the agenda. I just want to remind you all, just the rules of decorum for our meetings are such that please do not target your comments to any individual board member. The comments are for the board as a whole. And we ask that you not.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Sorry,
It's
Jacob.
okay, Terry. I think that there have been things that have been misrepresented tonight. I don't feel like fighting it, but thank you for your comments.
Yeah. Okay, let us move on, shall we, in furtherance to the supervisor's report. Let's go back. We heard some comments. Well, folks are gone. Already working on next year's budget. Very happy to talk about the finances of the town of Red Hook and how taxes are lower than they were a decade ago, and we've got 90 plus projects completed. The snapshot is for the period ending July 31st. I will put my signature on this when you make a motion to accept. We started the month with an opening balance of $11.5 million, had receipts of $856,000, disbursements of $808,000. We have a balance of $11,597,000 and change. You have, as part of your packet, some budget adjustments prepared by Ann Conway. Any questions you have on that, please let me know. And you have your variance report, as you do each and every month, showing where we stand versus budget for each one of the accounts. Any questions, board members? 9:13 at night. If not, who would like to make a motion to accept the supervisor's report? Kenny?
Sure.
Second. A, B,
William?
Jacob.
Jacob was second? Okay. All in favor, William?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Deanna, could I impose upon you to do the clerk's report, and then we'll move to agenda items?
Town clerk's report for the period July 1st through July 31st, 2026. Amount paid to the town of Red Hook, $7,670.60. Amount paid to New York State Agriculture and Markets for the spay-neuter program, $39. Amount paid to New York State Department of Health for marriage licenses, $45. Amount paid to New York State Environmental Conservation for hunting and fishing license, $198.40. Total state, county, and local revenues, $7,953. And I hereby certify that vouchers numbered 35127 to 35222, processed in the month of July 2026, are an accurate reporting of the abstracts approved for payment by the town board.
Motion to accept the clerk's report.
Second?
Phil got in there before Christina. All in favor? Christina?
Aye.
Kenny?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Jacob and Bill? Okay. Let's go. Oof. We're going to skip around. Today, we're going to skip around since we don't have our highway super with us tonight. We do have we're going to go to water first. Sorry, David. We're going to go to water first. They got her oily. Agenda item number 7, Drinking Water Source Protection Plan 2, next steps. I think I sort of described a little bit of where we are. Who wants to talk first?
Maybe it's appropriate that I do, since I was the designated town board member.
Okay, I'm going to step away for 1 minute.
All right, I'll keep talking.
You keep talking, if you would, please. Thank you.
Okay, so the New York State Department of Health and Department of Environmental Conservation have a program called Water Source Protection. And what it is they like to work with municipalities to find ways to protect our water sources. And you work with them to come up with a plan that the primary focus is to look for the things that are your potential contaminants of water. And we've been at this for a while. We finally have a finalized report. I mean, we've been at this maybe 3 years to give a finalized report. And the benefit of this finalized report is now the town of Red Hook has access to certain state assets, not just grants, but they have staff that help do certain things, and they make certain things available to the municipalities that have this plan. And I don't want to get too much because the plans are really long, but I think what's important is in the plan, and it goes to what we just voted on regarding the CPF fund acquisition of those parcels. There's in the plan, it's made a part of the public document, there's a series of maps. And there's a map that has a list of parcels that the state has determined would be ideal for the town to acquire to protect the water for the town. And most of those parcels sort of reside along the Sawkill Creek, which is a major water source for the town. And they didn't know at the time that they finalized this, because it has to go to the State Department of State and everybody else. We had just done the acquisition or the easement on the Camp Rising Sun, and they were very pleased to hear when we had the final meeting to I guess, adopt this plan. They were unaware that 1.5 miles of the Sawkill, and that was one of their big parcels, had been protected. There's another one next to it and a few others on the other side that go more downstream, I believe. And then there's a list of other properties. So they're very, very much supportive of any action that we take to help protect our water source. The other big one is potential sources of contamination, whether they be oil depots, salt sheds, whatever they are. So they have another map that has all of those throughout the town and the villages. And so now that we have the report done, it's been approved, the next steps are to implement the plan. And some of the implementation we already did by the Camp Rising Sun easement acquisition with, that was
We haven't closed yet.
we haven't closed, but that's, I mean, that was really, they were very surprised by that. They didn't know that that had happened, because it's one of the biggest parcels they said that we need to protect. But there are many others, and then there's issues related to how we deal with our salt for the water, brining the roads, a variety of things. And so the next steps for this process, if you will, is to implement the things that are on the plan. And I'll just go real quick. There are 5 goals. One is to foster community discussion and promote collaborative partnerships among the communities, water systems, and water users. Promote equitable, sustainable, and climate-resistant development in Red Hook that preserves the area's unique aggregate history and character. Evaluate present and future land use to minimize threats to existing and prospective drinking water sources through proactive zoning and other measures. Engage and educate communities, water systems, and water users about drinking water sources and source protection. And lastly, pursue funding opportunities to increase water supply and treatment reliability, including source water and conservation easement acquisition. And so they were unaware that we were getting in the late stages of our community, the comp plan. And so that falls into one of these goals. So we, in many ways, have been, without even having this plan, doing many of the things that the state is very supportive of. But the bonus here is they can help us with certain resources, certain assets, potential makes us more competitive for certain kind of grants. And this will be the roadmap for the foreseeable future on how the town goes about trying to preserve what is really outstanding quality water, whether it's in our water district from our wells or even all of us who have our own wells. We have really excellent water. We have a really excellent group of aquifers. They all kind of go down towards the river. And the sewer is another one of those. I know it's counterintuitive for people to think of a sewer as protecting your water, but it really is one of the best ways to keep your water safe. And as they've discovered in the village, as they started putting in their sewer system, there were septic systems, private ones, that were on the verge of catastrophic failure, which would have polluted our water. So in many ways, we've been way ahead of the curve, and now this is just a validation of that and more support and more help for the town in the future. That's it.
Okay. Did you want to?
Public comment? I mean, well, I'm not
Did
sure
you want to? Well, you're a part of this. You're a part of this effort.
Okay.
I was on
because
the
you're-
committee with Bill,
Yeah.
and it was a very interesting process. The people from the DEC were very capable, really knew their stuff, and it's one of the important.
If you could speak up a
Oh,
little
sorry.
bit. Chip.
One of the
Yeah.
important effects of accepting this plan and implementing it is that we basically have consultants that aren't going to cost us anything.
Right.
Right, and and don't have to be brought up to speed because they know what's already going on. So I think that in itself makes the whole process really valuable. But it was interesting because while we were doing it, while we were in the process of evaluating what the water was and what needed to be preserved and stuff, we were also in the process of doing it.
Right.
Right, which I think was we were kind of a step ahead of them the whole time, which is unusual for most towns, I think.
Right.
And it surprised them.
Just a few comments. Excuse me. I'll go to the mic. I think it's a wonderful plan. It's very comprehensive. It's so comprehensive, it really is hard to kind of really get in there to the nitty-gritty. And in any plan as comprehensive as that, I do think there are some odds and ends that I could really argue with, and there's a few inconsistencies in there. Nothing that I think is a particular concern. I'll give you one example. One part of the document talks about land that should be acquired because it's along a major tributary, and then other times they just talk about land to be acquired along a tributary, and I think there needs to be some clarification as to whether or not you're going to look at lands on every single creek and stream in the Sauk Hill watershed, or the defined major tributaries along the Sauk Hill. I will say that the part that we're involved with the Sauk Hill is really to advocate for the watershed and not any individual properties within that. We're looking at the whole entire watershed and the need, I can't stress enough the continued need for information and data to base things on. And as we stand here now, the data collection process, because of the relationship we've had with BARD in the future, is not necessarily going to be there for us. That we implore the town to keep an open mind in terms of what it's really going to mean to continue to collect reliable data throughout the whole watershed. And it is going to take some financial resources. And I was pleased to see that though there are financial resources in the plan, I think we might need a little bit more than that, but everybody's going to say the same thing. As an individual, forget that I'm with the Sauk Hill watershed community for a minute, but just as a regular community member, I do have a general concern about, how do you go about acquiring property? What is the process for that? We had a lot of discussion tonight about acquiring property. What does acquiring mean? And where does it go? And what is the process and who's involved in that process? I think particularly today, that's going to be a real key. If this is going to be successful and folks are really going to be on board with it, I do need to think it has to be in a very, very above board process. And the broader constituency you can get involved in that, the better it's going to be all around. But I think it's really a wonderful report. Implementation of it is going to be huge. And we're here with the Sauk Hill watershed community to say we're here to support that for us. Okay. Thank you.
If I could just add one quick thing, just something for all of us to keep in mind going forward. The accumulated data we have on the water temperature in the Sauk Hill indicates that it is now 0.5 degree warmer than it was 10 years ago. This is a direct result of climate change, and it has serious implications for the future in terms of what we put into the water and what we get out of it, and things like acquiring the water district parcels for wetland protection become increasingly important as we go forward.
Okay. Thank you. I would just add, you talked about acquisition. One of the nice things about this is really a small subset of the community preservation plan. There's something in the neighborhood of 1,300 parcels in that plan. All are eligible for acquisition, and it talks about all the different
But if I'm one of the
techniques.
parcels that's being called out to be acquired, what's going to happen when you knock on the door and say, we want to acquire your property?
Sure.
And when is that going to happen?
Yeah, so I mean,
and what does it mean to acquire property?
Well, exactly. So there are a bundle of property rights, and oftentimes you're looking at, in these cases, easements, conservation easements to protect the resource. For example, Bill referenced Camp Rising Sun, which hopefully we'll be closing on in the next couple of months. That's a state water quality improvement program. Grant funding. Winnicke Land Trust are a partner with that. That's number 15 here. And so you can see just the length of the Sauk Hill right here, and just how protected that is. And by the way, since we're talking about Camp Rising Sun, if you haven't been to the pool, go to the pool and walk the grassy trails. They're available. They've opened them up early for the public to see and enjoy. But like, here's a parcel that has recently sold within the last couple of years. And so what we might do is an outreach and just say, hey, look, there are these voluntary programs available. This one actually has, really good agricultural resources and has been a farm for generations. So, yeah, there was a very extensive process to reduce the targeted, if you will, parcels if you're trying to maximize protection along the Sawkill. And as you can see, it's really very efficient to...
And its tributaries. And I
it's-
think that's
and it's-
key. What
and its
constitutes
tributaries.
it? Again, part of the document talks about major tributaries and then names them.
Yeah.
And then some of the parcels are not along those tributaries, they're along unnamed tributaries.
Yeah,
Sure.
We've identified at least 11 tributaries.
Unfortunately, we have
Right,
partners in
exactly.
Winnicke Land Trust and Scenic, with these, Dutchess Land Conservancy. We have partners who share the same, they share the same
Yeah.
goals and agenda, and have helped us, that 15 is huge. And so, the hope is that over time, that some of these other parcels, that the owners of those parcels we might be able to sell the purchase easements, rights, or other things, so that
Just be careful with the concept of acquiring property.
well, there's the physical property and then there's the easement rights. And that is an important distinction.
Yeah. The stream along through the Rising Sun property is just beautiful.
Through the what?
Through the Rising Sun
Rising
property,
Sun
it's
is
just
great.
beautiful. I mean, if
That's
you get a
great.
chance to go look at it, it's just, it's what it should be,
This section here, I know very well. This is part of our farm, and that's under easement. We've left it available to become a trail in the future of passing trip with that section there, so that's also covered.
And I didn't see a definition in there, however, and this may be a common legal term, cultivated land. What is meant by cultivated land?
Right.
Well,
Hard.
I know what a dictionary definition is, but there might be a legal definition because if you look at the legal definition, it means, not the literary definition, it means any land that's been used for farming. But there's a lot more properties in our town that are not included to be acquired that would fall into that
There's
category.
also a lot of land that was at one time used for farming. It's still considered agricultural by the county, but it's not currently being farmed.
So, just, what's our process going forward with the DEC on this?
Yes.
Do we have a schedule of meetings of some sort, just to?
Well, we've been trying to work with Michael at Department of Health to schedule some,
Regular meeting.
regular meetings, but we're going to schedule a kickoff or an implementation meeting to kind of go over the things that were done that they were unaware of as the
Right,
plan was
bring
being
them up to speed.
finalized, and then perhaps prioritize what we think are the things that are, achievable, short-term, medium-term, long-term. And I don't even know what long-term means in this context, because I'm certain it's a multi-year process, many multi-year process. But the idea is to set things in motion in a way so that, future leaders can pick up where we left off and continue that process without too much interruption.
Well, we wanted to have to sponsor a community meeting to present the report.
Oh.
And bring in Michael.
With,
I can't remember.
work, not us
I
independently.
hadn't thought about that, but I think
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, so, have the Saukville Watershed
One-
Community sponsor that.
One suggestion is that to the extent that we've been having community meetings regarding the comp plan, and this really in many ways is a subset of that,
Yeah.
or will help inform the comp plan, maybe that's an opportunity, we can speak to Julia Solomon at the next.
Well, they've reached out, the comp plan has already reached out.
They have?
Yeah.
Okay, great, and then maybe that's an opportunity to present this and talk about it, where we are, because it really is a comp plan piece.
Yeah, I mean, when we held a a kitchen table conversation. We've had some meetings with
Okay.
with the consultants.
Oh,
That
great.
was very much,
Okay.
in our minds.
Thank you.
So has there been testing of the water along the Sawkill?
Yes.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Where have you been?
Where are the results?
Well, we
They're
They're
on our
not, they're
website.
not in here.
No, they're, if you'd like to see the long, decades-long series of water testing results, you can go to the Saltville Watershed Community website.
They have it on the
Well,
website.
we presented we have been doing testing for how many years now?
Since, well,
Yeah,
since
and mostly through BART, and the data, okay, the testing that we did in 2025, we presented a report to the town, and that was made public in July of 2025.
Yeah,
It was,
it's on
I
our
believe,
website.
and I believe it's on the town website also. In addition to that, we submitted a summary executive report in October of 2025. That's much, that really focuses in, and I would encourage every board, I'm surprised, I'm disappointed the board hasn't read that. Come on, you got nothing else to do.
From cover to cover.
Okay. But I think, Ken, the data is there. The concern I was talking about at the microphone, though, is, are we going to be able to continue collecting the data and having the data analyzed, especially since the support we've gotten in the past from BARD may not be there as much as it has in the past.
And how many locations on the Sawkill?
Well,
Like a dozen?
well,
15.
not on the Sawkill, no, on the Sawkill it's 15.
Right.
And then in
15,
addition to that, for the first time last year, we included 2 sites on the Stony Hill, because that is part of the town.
Right.
So we expanded it last year. But the historical data goes back, decades, to tell you the truth. And in addition to that, BARD published, released a database where any citizen can go in and access that data.
Online.
Online, yeah.
And that you can access that, there's a portal for that on our website.
Okay.
But the long series of data that goes back for more than 20 years is why we know that the average temperature on the
Has risen.
and that has, serious implications for flooding and wetlands and drinking water. and
Right.
algal blooms and just all sorts of bad stuff.
Well, thank you.
And the data collection has not only been through with BARD students, but it's been community volunteers also, including a lot of the high school students have gotten involved.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Okay.
So when can we start spending the money?
We'll hear more about implementation.
Okay. Well, we would love to be part of that process and
Of course.
prioritizing too.
No, absolutely.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, you guys, thank you so much.
Thanks, have a good night.
So-
David,
We're sorry,
That sucks.
we jumped your line.
We're in favor of whatever it is you're.
That's right, we'll go for it.
Good night. Thank you.
I did in rushing to get ready, I think I printed out a copy of your latest edition that came today, if I'm not mistaken. I have them somewhere. Anyway, come talk to us.
Sure. I also just want to be respectful of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'll have this little spiel, for a while. Red Hook Housing Committee, we're about 5 years old. We've spent those 5 years, researching solutions to both create and preserve affordable housing in the town. That time has been spent both a little bit of research, a little bit of self-paralysis. We're doing our best. We're hopefully in a new era now in which we are trying to pivot toward storytelling for you all. And the proposal that you received in the packet prior to tonight's meeting is the second of that sprint or marathon. I'm not exactly sure what the metaphor is. And it refers to a good cause eviction. There is a New York State good cause eviction law that put some parameters on reasons for eviction among fair market value renters. This does not apply to subsidized or otherwise affordable housing, formerly affordable housing. It does not apply to super high-end luxury housing. There is actually a cap on fair market value. And the state law was written in a way that communities like ours have to opt into it. While the state law has a lot of parameters already built into it, it actually extends more selection of parameters to the communities that do opt in, such as that fair market value cap, as high as 345% of fair market value. It allows opt-in communities to determine the scope of a landlord's real estate portfolio, how big or small it can be. So so the housing committee is suggesting or recommending that we are one of those opt-in communities, and the parameters that are available to us are included in our proposal. Of the highest fair market cap of 345%, to protect the widest swath of renters, even those who are maybe nominally in the luxury market, they deserve protection too. The proposal also defines the size of the portfolio, and we have defined it as rather small, because there is some fields experience that suggests that the smaller the portfolio, the less likely a person can establish multiple LLCs, by which they can through which they can sort of surreptitiously own multiple properties.
And avoid the application of the good cause eviction law
Correct.
to their portfolio.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not limiting the amount of property somebody can own, it's whether this law applies to what they own.
And as you'll see, the more times I stand up at this microphone, the more out of my depth I will become, because you can only become so fluent in affordable housing strategies over a short period of time. So thank you for having my back there, Jacob. And happy to field whatever questions you have about it within my abilities. But I think that this proposal has the depth and detail that the previous one did. I think it's a nice counterpoint to the home share proposal, because whereas home share refers to the development of affordable housing opportunities, it's really just maximizing the opportunities that were already in our midst. This is about preserving the housing of folks who are already here. So one is about development, the other is about stabilization. However, I did actually want to take a little bit of a detour from this, because as Jacob mentioned to you in an email this evening, we've just roughed out another proposal, and of the three that are now before you, this third proposal is actually more time sensitive than the other two. Good cause eviction can happen at any time. Home share can happen at any time. Ideally, it happens at the pace of our conscience. However, this third proposal is time sensitive because it has to do with emergency housing in wintertime. Emergency housing, experiences of homelessness, it's not exactly something that we had wanted to take on over the course of this committee's 5 years. It is a gnarly systemic problem. When you think about people who are experiencing homelessness, you often need to think about wraparound services. It was just bigger than the committee thought itself capable of grasping. It didn't really feel like it was within our remit. But over these years, we have been visited by residents like Charlie Rubin. We have heard about the efforts of Red Hook Together, and we have also had members who have joined the committee, with an eye to the both visible and invisibly unhoused populations of Red Hook. And so, we felt compelled to participate in this dialogue however much it doesn't necessarily feel like it's in our wheelhouse. And so the proposal that is not in your packet, but just circulated by email this evening, actually tries to touch at that. It is just in full transparency. Whereas the first two proposals are low-hanging fruit. We have a state law, we have a Ulster County precedent for both good cause eviction and home share respectively. What we are proposing here, it's a little, you see things happening in Burlington, Vermont, you see things happening, in Kingston, you see, cosmopolitan communities that have our climate. And so, but this is, I think that because the precedents are fewer, because our climate is more extreme than like places like California that are thinking about, emergency housing and housing stabilization, in nicer weather, we don't have too much to build upon incrementally. So, like I said, in the spirit of transparency, I feel like this proposal that was just emailed to you may be the least resolved of the three. I think also it was least resolved because we were avoiding it for a lot of our history. But it does feel like the most urgent. We did have a warming center 2 winters ago. The warming center did not materialize last winter. One of our members, Kat Viega, has talked repeatedly about knowing 2 people who have died of exposure. And so, it just felt more like the morally responsible thing to do was to share this storytelling with you, however uncrystallized it is. So, if you have to, I know you have very full plates, but if you had if you could prioritize one of these 3 proposals for brainstorming and outreach, it would be this one. We are at your disposal to continue workshopping ideas and making connections. And I will say that the word continuum is coming up a lot in the Housing Committee's conversations. A continuum of housing preservation to housing development, a continuum of a person who needs emergency housing to the person who may be one medical bill away from being housing insecure, to folks like me who just are always nervous about paying the mortgage. It's just a continuum of security and insecurity. So this third proposal dovetails into that continuum. But because it is at the most urgent end of the continuum, it does seem like it should be the most urgent one for us to brainstorm about.
Good, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Of course, Bill.
When the state passed the law,
What do you want? Good
good cause, I'm talking about good cause.
Yeah, sorry. A lot of
Did they
pinballing
do
around.
what they did with cannabis, which says if you opt in, you can never opt out? And I ask that because, and I very much appreciate getting the list of all the opt-ins in the area, it's very helpful. But what I noticed was most of them were either cities or much larger communities than ours. I'm not saying we're not a large community, we're in that sort of weird sweet spot. I want to make sure that we don't commit to something, and when the cannabis thing happened, notwithstanding the fact it's still a federal crime, which was my main reason for voting against it, but the other reason was the state had not, they were very far from completing their regulations and implementing a program. And I had serious reservations, which were proven over time, that it took them a long time to figure out how to get to where they wanted to really be. And I wasn't happy approving something that you're stuck with forever when you don't, it's like driving blind, really. And so I want to make sure, I think this is very important, and I also think it's a part of our comp plan, this is long-term stuff, but I want to make sure that what we're being asked to do is not something that we can't undo.
Yeah, an escape hatch, right? Sometimes we, act with the best interests, good faith, as much information as we have, and then some, you know, the, what is Rumsfeld called? What did he call it? The unknown knowns, or the known, whatever, one of those. So yes, I mean, you're absolutely right that there are unknown unknowns. And
But are we buying something
yeah,
that we don't know everything about?
may I make you the promise of reading the state law and then
That would be great.
and responding to
it's-
Jacob's
Yeah, I
email?
mean, it should be in there somewhere. But it would just be helpful to
Yeah, of
know
course.
what we're committing ourselves to.
Yeah.
Um,
Most of our proposals, you know, have come with some kind of retrospective review at the end of a period, like 2 years. I can't remember if that text is in the good cause eviction proposal per se, but either, you know, well, we'll have to see what the state law says, right? Because if there is no opt-out in the state law, but we codify an opt-out, then once your council sends it to the state, there's going to be a little disconnect that, you know, that makes authorization a little funky. So let's start with this, you know, reading the state law, and we'll take it from there.
I think the risks here are different from cannabis sale or consumption sites.
Oh, I
So
know.
as far as like whether you undo like protections for renters versus.
But there are economic consequences for this. And, you know, the other thing that I saw was, you know, the issue of agriculture and housing for people who work in farms. And Kenny can speak to this, but, you know, I tried to delve into what was provided previously, and I didn't see anything that, I'm not saying there should be a carve out, but there should be some acknowledgement that it's a different kind of population. And like my wife's family are farmers in Oregon, and they provide housing for families who work, you know, they're not seasonal workers, they work full-time on the farm, and they have for generations actually. And so it's a piece of a conversation that I'm not sure has been had or raised.
Do those seasonal workers or even year-round workers,
I saw the thing about
market value renters?
I saw the thing about seasonal, but I didn't see anything about year-round. And we should continue to be an agricultural town.
Yeah.
So there are just some things, you know, that kind of, when I saw it, there were questions that came up, and I think your timing is actually kind of excellent, because we are on the sort of backside of getting a draft of a comp plan, hopefully end of the year. And I think these are, since we only do one every 30 years, this would be a great opportunity. And since zoning, housing, all these are sort of really comp plan issues, I think it would be great to get get it in there.
The existing state carve-out that, you know, a semantics expert might say is that, you know, one of the exemptions to this regulation are people who live on site, or landlords who live on site, as long as, you know, there are 10 units of housing on site or less. Could that apply to a family farm? Yeah, potentially, but, you know, should there be, you know, agricultural language in the state law? Yeah, it's a state law, you know, and the state comprises both urban and rural areas. You make a good point.
My question relates to efficacy. So you have a law that's designed to help protect the more affordable, we'll call them, units in your community, of which most of them are in the village versus the town.
Yeah.
And so I wonder, have you all discussed this with the village and, you know, what their thoughts on it might be?
Where the village is.
Or the village is, yeah.
Karen and Emily are kind of clued in, you know, bumped into Emily at the Tivoli yard sale day to tell her what's going on. But you're right.
I bring it up for a couple of reasons.
Jurisdictional.
One of the things that I discovered when I was on the county's housing task force back in 2021 or whatever that was that we had, in the township, we did not have one multifamily of 20 units or more in our community, anywhere. which is a decision of the community. I'm not saying we have to, I'm just saying that that was news to me. And so when we look at, for example, a portfolio that's about to change hands in the village of Red Hook with 73 units, I think it is, something like that. I'm going to just take a guess and say that probably include many of our more affordable units. I just wonder if that's, that's important for us to take a look at that.
Yeah.
And how that may have impact or may not impact
The
transaction.
proposal advocates for simultaneous adoption across jurisdictions.
Yeah.
But there is, baggage that comes with this regulation. There's the potential economic consequences that Bill was hinting at. I believe, specifically, you're thinking that there is concern that this kind of regulation in a world of regulation is going to be the straw, by which some real estate holders do not want to build or keep their portfolios here.
Well, there's a long history of rent regulations in communities, and really, when you look throughout the nation, this is new. But most of rent control went away. In fact, I think Boston, New York City still has it, but Boston, I think, is the last holdout. Because there's that sort of push and pull about the small landlord, and will they have enough money to maintain the property and have a decent return.
This is a nuance that we didn't discuss in the committee, but you bring up an interesting point about if we cannot have simultaneous adoption, then does it actually create the jurisdictional confusion that we all complain about, right? We don't know where
that's a good
town,
point.
village, which hamlet, and gets, and it's not intentionally obfuscatory, but it makes people confused, and we don't want citizens confused.
And as far as emergency housing, so I think you and I have discussed Hudson River Housing has grant funds all ready to go. We have, the advice of council is do not put it on municipal land. We're not in a position to really supervise. We've discussed that at least from what folks know, there may be some mental health issues with a couple of folks we're worried about, and that's our primary concerns. We're worried about them. And I did notice that there was yet another pilot program coming from the state. We talked about K through K2 mental health assistance. I think just announced this week. Pilot program, Dutchess County, Dutchess Ulster, maybe it's Dutchess Ulster. So maybe let's look into that as well. See if that might be an opportunity, but again, I go back to, it's the where, because the money's already lined up. The people who have experience in setting up these shelters, in fact, Hudson River Housing set up that one that you referenced a couple of years ago. It's the where and who's willing to have that in their neck of the woods. You heard comments tonight from people who weren't boat club members, but they live in Barrytown. And so we see, whenever we try to do any project, there is a please not in my backyard kind of a sentiment that comes from it. So it's a real challenge in this situation.
It's the stickiest wicket.
We need to find something that works in this situation, because everybody deserves to have a roof. I've been as a child housing insecure. I know what that feeling's like, and it's not good.
Some of it's messaging too. I mean, I've heard a lot of conflation, even on the Cookingham project, about these ideas that, a housing project's going in, and you live across the street. I think some of it's about properly messaging what it is we're doing so that people understand what it is, as opposed to these, very scary ideas about that.
Sure,
And definitions,
And the optics of this, are another dimension of, another challenging dimension. Even the transitional housing fund, which doesn't necessarily touch upon, folks who may be suffering from mental health issues. It may just be, that family that's that one medical bill away, from insecure, but they want to keep their kid in the school district.
Right.
I mean, even that can be misconstrued, right, as a handout.
Yeah.
So, like I said, there are many reasons why this third proposal of ours is least resolved.
Yeah.
It's also just it's really tough.
Yeah.
But I think I appreciate that we're making a good faith effort, to think about it. Even if we can't find that silver bullet.
Well, I
Right
mean,
now.
you guys are boots on the ground. I know Kat, is around the village and elsewhere, and other members. It's really about identifying where can we do this? And maybe these mobile units are great. I mean, they sound like, a potential solution. The problem is the support services. We all talk about, can we find them more than just shelter? Because it's better, you know this. You don't need me to tell you this, but it's better if we can provide a housing accommodation near where services can be provided so that all of their well-being can be improved and they can be the member of society that...
There is talk of family services.
Yeah.
Maybe putting a base down here, which would be great, because we know that sometimes access to services isn't necessarily about geography or transportation, it's just personal resistance, right? Either to, crossing the threshold into that office or getting on the bus to get to that office. It's, you're identifying all the tough nuances here. I don't, I'm a little afraid to say this on the for public record, but I am afraid that we might not find the site that weaves this all together in time for the winter.
Yeah.
But at least we're on the record for starting the hard work of trying.
Yeah, we might need to knock on doors. Might have to come down to...
In the meantime, I will look into opt-out and to any kind of farming language in the state law, and I'll email you.
That'd be great.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you for caring.
Of course.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay. We are number 2. It's 10 o'clock and we're number 2. Like the clock on the watch, the hands on the watch. We're back to surplus. I didn't want to say this, but we also own the truck, but we own it on behalf of the highway budget, DB fund. So we've got 2 resolutions, right?
One is for the van.
One is for the van, and one is for the dump truck. So, 41?
Yes.
41.
41 would be the 2005 Chevrolet van surplus. The rec department looked at it and they were like, maybe the village DPW chief is handy. $1,500 is the amount.
It's really not going anywhere. It stays in the same garage.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody approached me from the rec department saying that they were using their own vehicle or something.
Yeah. So remember we talked about those pickup trucks? Remember we approved pickup trucks earlier in the year?
Yep.
So there's going to be a surplus pickup truck.
Okay.
I think they might be interested in that versus this van.
How does that get transferred?
Well, when she asked for that one to be put up as surplus, then we,
Okay.
okay, and the value gets created for that one. So in this case, we've got 41, resolution declaring the 2005 Chevy van surplus and authorizing its transfer to the village of Red Hook. They've inspected it, the value has been determined, it's a recurring thing. The town board has determined that the van is no longer needed for town purposes. Well, we've determined based upon the input of our highway superintendent, and I believe we went under the van to check it. And then it's transferred to the village of Red Hook for the purchase price set forth therein is in the best interest of the town. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Red Hook as follows declares that the following vehicle surplus property. And let's fill in the amount of $1,500. The town board hereby authorizes the transfer and sale of the vehicle to the Village of Red Hook for the purchase price of, as stated, $1,500 in as is, whereas condition, no give backs, Village of Red Hook, without any representation or warranty by the town. Who's the liaison to the highway department?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? 1,500 minutes on this one. All in favor? Kenny?
Aye.
William?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Jacob?
Aye.
And Christina?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Resolution 42, surplus items. We're now at the 2002 International Dump Truck. Highway Superintendent has recommended that the disposition of the surplus equipment described herein in the manner set forth. Town Board of the Town of Red Hook as follows, declares the following items as surplus equipment. Purchasing agent is authorized to engage a reputable, I can't even speak. Online auction agent approved by the purchasing officer. Actually, it's the highway superintendent. Let's make that change. Purchasing officer throughout this second one. It shall be available for inspection of the town highway department. It's resolution number 42. Who still is the liaison to the highway?
So moved.
Thank you, Jacob. Who would like to second this one?
Second.
Further discussion? If not, all in favor? Kenny?
Aye.
Myself, aye. William? Christina?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
All right, that's 42. Okay, we have 40 through 3. We don't want to be abrasive, but we do go up to bid for abrasive. So it's authorizing the town clerk to advertise a request for sealed bids. We go out to bids, try and get the best pricing each year for the materials and sometimes for the labor associated with highway projects. Those are the ice control abrasives, a request for sealed bids for hot mix asphalt, and a request for proposals for various materials for 2027. These materials are listed here in the memo.
Do we want these? Or like, how does that get filled in?
Well, so here's the document itself. And so she will go out to bid and they will prepare based upon a tonnage.
So like each of them have.
Oh,
Like
they're on each page, so they're, okay.
So usually whenever we do this, we'll get the results back and they'll show like price and unit
Okay.
and all that.
Thank
So
you.
it's based upon the ton. You see how it's,
Yep,
okay.
got it.
And it says 1,700 tons hot mix asphalt concrete, for example. And it's each one of those is bigger plan. Okay, 40 tree,
Yes.
as they say in the wrong. May we? Who would like to move 43?
So moved.
Second?
Thank you both. Further discussion? If not, there's a return date in there somewhere. Right? All in favor? Kenny?
Aye.
William? Myself, aye. Jacob?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, we've jumped around a bunch tonight. Audits. So we get our auditor comes and audits various departments and offices. Here is the auditor's letter. Reviewed the Justice Courts, the Office of Town Clerk, Office of Tax Collector, and the Management Letter. General fund, reviewed the consolidated checking account reconciliation each month for completeness and accuracy. In assessing the cash disbursements, 3 vouchers per month, so they do all the spot checking, cash receipts, clear audit trail, all checks received by the bookkeeper were deposited within 3 business days. The Office of State Comptroller, Local Government Management Guide states the employee responsible for collecting cash and preparing bank deposits should not be. We have just one bookkeeper, so there's not the possibility of bifurcating those duties. Justice courts, audit, again, what they do. This is what they do for the spot audits, the findings. And we will have merged courts for next year when the audit happens. Town clerk, same thing, findings. It's very positive management letter, tax collector, 2026 tax receipts and disbursements reconciled completely. All daily receipts evaluated, deposited in timely manner. Further segregation of duties.
They were clean audits.
Clean audits. And there they are. You are all welcome to look at them on the website. They will be posted upon approval. So,
Is it correct on the page, I think it's page 5, that one, is that 2026 or 2025?
financial collection period should say 2025. There was one other
No, she
typo.
used my collection this year,
What's that?
2026.
Oh, she used this one. Oh, right, because your season is January through March. So it is correct, Christina.
Okay.
The 2026. What is not correct, however, is, did we get the correct math? There was a typo in there. I think she accidentally had in the initial draft of the management letter, she had tree blosser and Mansfield, right? Did she correct that? I think Alex posted, yeah, good, okay.
Page 2.
Sorry?
On page 2, it still says street blaster.
Oh, it still says page 2.
Yeah. It's like the second one right after the resolution.
Still a judge, he's just not our judge.
I guess yours is right, the one that I had from, what was it in the email is wrong. So whatever that update is.
Yes, so the correction was made,
Okay,
and that's a
great.
matter of, yeah. Okay, where are we? Did we vote on that?
Resolution 44?
44?
No, you didn't vote on it.
We didn't vote on it. Okay.
This would be 44.
Yeah,
Yeah.
motion to accept the audit reports for the year ended December 31, 2025, and for tax misspelled collection, if we could make that. We're trying to be bilingual. Collection. Period, tax collection period 2026. Who moved it?
Nobody.
I'll move it.
Oh, okay, I think Christina got it in
Yeah.
here. Bill, did you
And
want
I'll
a
second,
second?
and I
Okay.
will second it.
Further discussion? If not, congratulations to all the departments on a successful audit. All in favor, Kenny,
Aye.
William,
Aye.
myself, aye, Jacob,
Aye.
Christina.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, I think I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, the solar, so we had an emergency roof replacement. Call the solar installer, please put back the solar panels so we can get our free electricity from the panels that we replaced, and a lot of that was grant funded years ago. And he pointed out something, and if you've been following for the last 20 years, what's been happening in a lot of clean energy industries, but especially in solar, the cost of the panels have declined, the efficacy and resiliency of the panels have only increased. They're 13-year-old panels, and literally for $200 difference, they can put on new panels, half the amount, 43 panels versus 22, half the amount, and give us a lot more of our roof. So if we want to expand and get more free electricity.
And for the new warranty as well.
And the new warranty and newer panels, the degradation. Folks at home are probably doing more exciting things than I am, but studying things like how do solar panels degrade. Typically it's about 0.5% per annum. So you would start out at no panels, 100%, you would decline by 0.5% a year. So a 13-year-old panel, you're already starting at somewhat of a deficit. It's a great south-facing, and in his subsequent email, he points out it's a great south-facing roof. So, good thing to consider taking.
Can you just explain what the diagram that we're looking at? So
Sure.
the
Let's go to the videotape. What number are we on this?
Pages.
Pages. Thank you, Jake. Let's count on you to pages. Okay.
So just briefly, what are we looking at?
Okay.
Here? Like, so yellow is
This is Town Hall, yellow.
yes.
We're in L shape.
Yeah.
Okay, these are the panels that were not affected. We had to replace this roof.
So
We had
is there like
43 panels.
what's the yellow represent on the roof? Is there like
It's just the roof.
That's the roof.
it's just the roof. It doesn't mean like
No.
any like effective area. Like obviously the southern
This is
part of the roof
the
is
better
most
part of the
effective.
roof.
Yellow is better than.
Yellow is better than
better.
orange, or is that not true?
Yellow is better than brown.
Yellow is
Yes.
better than brown.
Well, only because it's north.
And how are we deciding how far over to put them towards that valley?
I wasn't planning on deciding that. I was going to leave that to the installers who are engineers to figure that out. But I mean, if you have some thoughts on that, we could convey that. I
Well-
think that's 22 panels there. We had 43 panels on this whole roof, and we would now have more.
Right. I mean, to me, if we're gonna put them on the southern face of that roof,
Yeah.
it would make sense to max that out more than other slopes of the roof. Like, could we fit another row on the bottom, or like,
Sure,
we
sure.
looked at that? And then the other thing is, have they reviewed, there's something in the code about needing to have fire department access across a roof?
Yes, so this is a safer, yes, this, I think, does he cover it in his communications with us? This is there's new code now on these, and there are new safety features that go with this. And there's also an inverter that's going to be replaced. Let me see if we can get to his communication on that.
But it says it's 2025 building code compliant. It has the
Right.
rapid shutdown. I think that was one thing that was described in the.
Right, was the shutdown. Module grounding, modules have increased in size and power density, module level power electronics are now required on roof systems for rapid shutdown and safety. We did not have that, because that was not required back in 2012, I believe, was this system, maybe 2013.
Good thing to have.
New 25-year warranties and their increased power density would open up more room for system expansion. We will reuse almost all of the existing AC wiring and utility interconnection that is already in place inside the building. So just to be clear, this would give us the same amount of output, but with half the amount of panels. If we wanted at a later date to expand, it's very easy and modular to throw more up there. We can take a look at what our needs are to do that. But the question was, before we go ahead and pay for 2 or 3 days of having 43 panels that are, you know, half or a little better than half efficient, do we want to do something that seems to be a no-brainer?
How much do we give back to the grid on an annual?
Oh, you're not going to ask me to sound like that off the top of my head. How much?
No, but you're the solar guy. You're supposed to know these things.
All I know is what I was told. I'm not an engineer, and I was told that in the town of Red Hook, that we have built so much solar that during the best days, sunny days in the middle of the summer, that there's a possibility we're producing town-wide more electricity than we are using because of the solar. Okay? But on each, you know, system, don't forget we have a whole bunch that we've gotten, much of which was with grant funding. Town hall, highway garage, firehouse. I remember being a part of that project. 2009, I think we got the grant to that one. Then the big community solar one, but obviously the Cookingham solar one now. So, what do we think before we tell them to put the old ones back on? Do we want to put these one on? Kenny, your thoughts?
No thoughts.
No thoughts?
It's not expensive.
New or old for the same amount of money?
New.
What happens to the old ones?
I asked that question, do they have value? And guess what it comes down to? Not really, because it costs. This is the hard costs, soft costs, right? So the hard costs have declined dramatically. I mean, the cost of the solar, I don't even want to tell you what we paid for these systems 20 years ago, because it's embarrassing. I mean, it's like 10% or less now for the actual panels.
But are there recyclable materials like with spark plugs for airplanes?
They can be used, but you have to weigh them, just like we are. We're like, and certainly with the roof, we're never going to take up the value of the space now.
Right.
He says there's very little value to them, but we can ask to see if we can get it.
I was thinking about it in the context of the fridge, the
Freon?
the Freon, because
The dollar that you get sometimes
spark plugs for airplane engines have platinum in them, and catalytic converters have gold in them. And there are companies and businesses whose job is to harvest these precious metals, and I believe that I think it's silver, or it used to be used, because it's a highly industrial metal, silver, might have been used in solar panels at some point. I don't know if they still are.
So when they're not being, if you can't use them anymore, how do you?
Get rid of them.
Yeah.
They'll get rid of them. You actually have to pay to have, with these bigger projects, there's a decommissioning cost. And so that has to be put in a proposal. Christina knows what
the front end, right?
her time, and you maybe also the planning board. There, you have to have a decommissioning plan to take them down and to appropriately recycle them
Right.
or whatever, use them. But, I'm told they have very little value because they are not necessarily worthy of the installation. Does that mean somebody wouldn't want to be interested in it? And put them
There's going
together?
to be a lot that expire in the coming decade or so.
I think they are recycling panels now, though. We should.
Good question for Jeff.
What?
Sure
For
Jeff knows.
Yeah. Okay.
Are we voting on this, or is this?
I think we should, because this was an emergency and we've taken this off and they've been off, and so it's costing us more money each and every day not having those panels on there. So, who would like to move this? Okay, next one. To approve the proposal as described and replacing the panels on the roof that had to be taken off because of the leaks. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Jacob. Further discussion, all in favor? Christina?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
Myself, aye. William? Kenny?
Aye.
Thank you very much. All right,
You skipped the Aspinwall Bridge.
yeah. Can we come back to that? Since there's nobody here waiting on us, would you mind if we come back to that? I'd like to just tackle,
So,
Cannabis Expo.
yeah, so we got some more communication on cannabis. It doesn't sound like a big thing that they're shooting for. They want to fit within the footprint. Now, we did refer to our building and CEO. We have to make sure that it's allowed. I think, well, I know I expressed I have no reservations about something like that happening. The state, I think, has some guidance when it comes to the Cannabis Expos and some rules and regulations associated with that. So unfortunately, we haven't heard back from our CEO on that. I think he's waiting for some legal guidance on that. I think it's quite possible we might be in a position where we
can't.
No, well, I wasn't suggesting that we might have to have a special meeting. And I bring that up because typically the second meeting in August, because it's Fair Week, we don't have a meeting because many of the public aren't with the fair or at the fair or
That's right.
otherwise engaged. So I would propose we do what we did in July, which is we go ahead and cancel that August 20-something meeting, but leave ourselves available to have a special meeting so we could tackle this, or we do have one or two other matters under negotiation now, and if there's some movement there.
I mean,
the 26th.
would
The 26th is
it
better.
make sense for us to approve this with a condition? Or, like, what are we reviewing?
Well, we need to know if it's allowable. We haven't heard from our CEO whether or not this is allowed. I certainly would be happy that I have expressed in previous meetings that I have no problem with this type of an event.
Because it seems to me like last time when we were talking about this, we were asking the question like, why is this before us?
Right.
And it's because Office of Cannabis Management requires that the town board take an action.
Yeah.
But if we were to approve this contingent on
I
the
understand.
zoning review.
I understand, and I want to say this respectfully, but I mean, this is where I sometimes get confused, is sometimes you won't vote on something because you don't have the last little detail signed off on, and that's a great trait for an architect. And then there are
Well, we are
times where...
generalists.
What?
We are generalists.
Right, but, and then there are other times like we don't even get from our CEO whether it's legal or allowed, and you're okay voting on it. I'm just saying, I think we need to make sure that we're voting on something that is allowed under our code or under New York State. And so we were supposed to, like, all these referrals are supposed to go to him and come back to us. I'm happy to go on record and say,
Did he
provided it's,
Did he, I'm sorry to interrupt, did he get all the information? Remember we had asked for that additional information?
He
'Cause-
did.
Okay.
And before we even had a chance to ask Upstate Pines, they sent it like in 48 hours or something like that.
Yeah, they
He
sent
had watched the meeting or something like that. He was thankful that we were sounded generally supportive.
I guess my point, the reason that I would suggest that is because we're not generally involved in zoning decisions, right? So like why is OCM referring it to the town board to say that we are generally supportive
It's
of
a
this kind of
requirement by
It's in
the
their
law.
law.
It's
It's in
in their law.
Right.
You know, I think because this is not a dispensary. This is like an expo.
Right.
So think about what an expo is. Sometimes it's a little thing, right? We heard about a car show that happened on that 2-acre property that is so tiny. And you know, some of us went this spring down to Jacob Javits where there was another car show at Expo, and that was hundreds of thousands of people. So I think the idea is that we're supposed to gather information as EU, is supposed to take a look at the state law. We're supposed to look at our own local code and make sure it conforms. I'm perfectly comfortable with this. I'm perfectly comfortable. We've done this, maybe not while you've been on the board, but we certainly have on short order called special meetings for either grant purposes or purposes to accommodate this. And I'm happy to make myself available to call a special meeting to approve it, but I want somebody to tell me that it's allowed before we do that. And only the ZEO can make those determinations. I don't want to stand in the shoes of the ZEO.
Understood, but my only point is just saying that, like, because the ZEO is day in, day out determining whether things are allowed or not. And so if we were to say that we are comfortable with this, as long as it conforms with our zoning, I would be comfortable saying that, because I think that's the intent of us weighing in on it.
So
Well, I think it serves a purpose.
Yeah. I was gonna say, sort of saying, we're waiting to hear that back. If we get that information that says, yeah, good to go,
Yeah.
like, why have a separate meeting to approve it if we feel like, if the answer is yes?
Right, like if
You're okay on the hypothetical?
Well, I think if the answer is no, then we don't.
Conditional.
But I guess the question is, are we, if, say, and I'm generally flexible about those kinds of things, but are we sending something to the state saying contingent on this, and they get it and they go,
Yeah,
oh,
I think-
this is
no,
fine?
I think
No,
we wait to sign off on the form until we hear from.
Ah, I see.
But could we pass it tonight saying it is up to the ZEO to make sure that the zoning conforms, we're okay with it if he signs off on it, and then it goes to the state?
We delegate Robert's work with the ZEO to
Sure.
get that answer and then sign off on it if the answer is yes.
The fair starts on the 23rd, right?
25th.
Oh, the 25th. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just trying to think about it in terms like if we had to run in here in the morning, and
Oh.
you only need 3 of us to do it, so I'm not going anywhere else. I'll be available.
Did they get this temporary extension of their licensed dispensary, that's an approval thing from the state? It says here the rented space, there's a temporary extension of our licensed retail dispensary. Do we have to get approval, or is that something?
That's going from the state, I would think.
Right, but you see where I'm seeing that? Upstate Pines is gonna be selling cannabis, they're gonna be the only ones out of these.
That's right, they're the only ones selling it.
Right, but they're saying the rented space will operate as a temporary extension of our license.
Okay, I read that. I think what they're
They
saying
have to get
is,
approval from the state to get a temporary extension.
I think if we approved it, I think that's what the state's waiting for.
Hang on.
Because
Just to be clear, because I want to make sure that we're not giving the wrong person. We don't approve it.
No, I know.
The
The
state
state
approves it.
regulates
But they
this.
need
too.
our-
Right, the state approves it.
But the form is asking us to approve
Exactly,
for the state to consider.
exactly.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think what in this additional information that they provided us, as they're saying, is that they're gonna be the only actual
Right.
seller of cannabis. It's just that it's not across the street, it's
Right.
gonna be at the
Well,
farm.
I'm just wondering, is it legal for them to
That's up to,
sell at this rented event?
I think that's up to the state. And
Okay.
so when they make their approval, that's what they're,
Right.
part of what they're approving.
That's why I feel uncomfortable voting on it, right, until we get all the facts.
Yeah, I think that this showcase event application is meant to account for those showcases happening in places that are different from
Right.
the typical location that they're doing their business at.
Is there a compromise here where maybe we as a board can convey, just for their planning purposes, that provided, without voting on it, but letting them know that our inclination is to support this effort if we get,
Yeah,
you want more information, we
I'm
need
fine
to
with
see.
that. I mean,
Okay.
We shouldn't do
So I think it's not a vote to send the
Preliminary
form in.
okay.
What's that? A preliminary okay? Okay, so, would I then ask you for permission to communicate with Upstate Pines to say that while there's still the outstanding question and legality, that, you know, as a board, we did not see a problem with it, and for planning purposes, provided we get the information, we intend to convene a meeting, a special meeting, even if for a few minutes, to approve the form when compromise. You don't like it?
I don't like it because it's a matter of principle to me. I mean, like, we're not in the business of doing the zoning review. So I look at
Well,
it
that's
as a
why I
matter
don't
of
want to vote
intent.
on
Say,
it. I don't want to vote on something that,
right, but
you know, somebody hasn't told me.
so the
it's-
language would be something like, we appoint Robert.
Doesn't have to be language, it's just you're authorizing me to communicate with them, that as a board, we have no problem conceptually with doing it, and what they've described sounds great. But we need to hear back from the ZEO.
But they need to conform with our zoning law.
And if it does, we will convene a special meeting.
Well, not only zoning law, but state law.
But we're not weighing in on the state law. We should weigh in on our zoning law.
Right, right,
That's
right.
town law, but then
Yes.
it's gonna go to the state.
And they'll decide.
Okay.
Well, somebody in our municipality needs to be up on, and actually Brandon offered to take a look into that as well, you know, the state law, to make sure that we're, you know, being cognizant of that.
And the whole idea of this discussion is we all think about one thing, liability.
Yeah.
It's just like what was happening at Hardman's with the,
Yeah.
you know, with
The festival.
the festival and the alcohol. It's, you know, there's liability on our part, you know, in some ways, you know.
Well, yeah. And you were around the gathering of the vines,
Yeah, well, that,
right? Where somebody
I
died.
wasn't here when I heard
no, that was big.
Yeah.
But Robert, I think, you know, your point is interesting to me. I didn't actually think about it that way, but is the authority having jurisdiction for OCM the town or the state?
No, we don't have the authority over, no, I just pointed out that it's not our decision. We just need to do our due diligence, which is to have our ZEO says, yes, it's okay that they do that, and yes, what they're proposing conforms. See, what we're not anticipating is that Brandon comes back and says, well, they can do it, but they have to do A, B, C, and D, and this part of it they can't do, or whatever, and we're like, okay, well, wait, now what do we do? And so that's why I'm saying I think we should convey our sentiment, if we haven't already, and then, you know, I did ask Brendan about it today, because I reminded him that it was on the agenda, and he said he was still waiting to hear back on certain matters, you know, either legal, I think legal stuff, because this is all new to us. I mean, could be really one of the worst rollouts in state history, was cannabis, and here we are trying to figure it out.
I mean, I guess that the form, right, is saying what it's asking for us, right, is that the individual authorized to approve events on behalf of the ballooning municipality, approving of the event to take place at the location and the dates and times, right? I think that the discussion we've had tonight is, if we hear back from Brandon that, yeah, there's not an issue with this under our zoning, we're all like, yeah, go ahead, we approve it, no problem. I don't see the need to call into the meeting. I think we can authorize you as the person to sign off on this, if that's the answer we get. If we get a different answer, I think then maybe it's prudent to call a meeting and have that discussion. But I don't see the need to call a meeting just to say, yeah, the thing we all agreed on
But I
before.
would call a meeting if Brandon comes back and says yes,
Yeah,
but.
if there's a different, if there's anything other, if there's a qualification where the answer is no.
That's
or something
fair.
like that.
Yeah.
All right,
I think we can
live with that.
plan to hold the time.
I
if
hope
we
I
need
don't
to,
regret
but-
that, but I can live with that, yeah. I think Kenny brings up a good point, which is the liability. Well, you all agreed, you didn't ask to see, is there first aid, is there, you know, whatever, is there the normal things that you would have at an expo? And this is Brandon's job, is to,
Yeah.
you know, is this allowed by the site plan? You know, those things. Well, it's a one-time, or maybe
Or
one-time.
get some decent insurance.
And the state's gonna review the application as well, right? We're just saying, yes, you can have an event. I don't think we need to overcomplicate it.
I'll make that motion
To authorize Robert
to authorize Robert to
approve the event.
approve to approve pending zoning review.
Wait, can we just backtrack a little bit? So the motion is to authorize the town supervisor, if I may, not a name, the town supervisor to submit the form to OCM under the condition that the zoning officer approves of the event as described.
Beautiful. That's my motion.
All right.
I'll second that.
All right, further discussion? All in favor? Kenny?
Aye.
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 All right. Deanna?
Oh, yes. Yeah, you want to
It's
start
near,
that?
it's near heresy that we left the pets to the near last.
Do you want me to talk about it?
We'll get to the bridge, we'll get to that.
We'll cross that bridge when we get
All right.
Burn that bridge when we get to it.
So just a very quick explanation. This is new.
This is, the law,
Bill, please.
the law
Yeah,
was
that's the
passed
law.
like last year,
Right.
but, I already updated my system, but, on dog renewal license, we have to add an option for
Right.
people to contribute to a shelter of our choice, whatever we choose, and then annually, it'll show up on my report, but annually, it'll show up on my report as people contribute monthly, but annually, we will pay the shelter,
The shelter.
whatever's been collected.
Right.
Is the amount, like a fixed amount?
They have a choice.
No.
You have a choice. You
So
can
it
put
can
whatever
be,
you want.
well,
It's like when you go to a restaurant and they say, would you like to
Well-
contribute to the hungry, and then you pick or whatever.
5,
whatever.
10,
Right.
or
Well, I
their
was just
own
gonna
amount.
yeah, but does the state set those
No.
amounts? Okay,
No, that's
my
up-
question.
It's all
That's
option.
up to, I mean, I was just gonna do 5, 10, and then a blank to
Other.
put whatever,
Okay.
yeah.
Right.
You know, or whatever, if you think it should be less, but I feel like people, if they're gonna do it, if they're gonna do it.
Right.
But we do have to name a shelter.
Right.
They can't do a write-in, so,
So, Kenny,
The Rhinebeck shelter?
no, that's, well, so the
We're not really a
the
shelter.
ask is, yeah, the ask is for you to come up with a recommendation in talking with maybe Patricia, and maybe, you know, take a look at, I know the ASPCA is going through transition.
I know
But
Ulster
look
takes
at
a
the-
lot of dogs.
What's that?
Ulster SPCA takes a lot of dogs,
I know.
yeah. That was my thought.
So maybe come up with a recommendation of a couple of places we might consider, because we do have to identify the shelter.
Right.
Like not-for-profits that I just don't know any off the top of my head.
But I said,
didn't
you're
really
talking
do
about
any research.
Patricia Wynn?
Yeah,
She would probably know,
yeah,
yeah.
so maybe if you could have
Did
a
you-
conversation with her.
Did you forward me her number?
I did.
I can do,
It's on the website.
I can do, it's on the website, but I can also,
But the question I have is, on the form, is it gonna be fixed? Let's say we come up, Kenny
It's
comes up
gonna
with a
be,
recommendation.
it's gonna be fixed.
It's just gonna be one name.
There's only one
That's it.
choice.
Okay,
they
okay.
can't do a write-in, it's just that. And it's gonna say it on the license, on the renewal, there's a spot where I'm gonna be having that printed in, the, you know, donation, optional donation to
This
such and such, and
Okay.
the resolution shows that too, and then it'll be like 5, 10, or other. It's just an option, like, I don't know why they're doing it, but we have to, follow what they
But the shelter
ask.
doesn't have to be in Dutchess County?
No, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't have to be, it's local. Some people are doing Dutchess County SPCA, like south of here, but others, I think, have done like Hudson Valley Rescue, like, I don't remember the names, but like
Okay.
Hudson Valley.
There's a few choices.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll find
The
out.
local, like, yeah, shelters,
Okay,
but it doesn't have to be in the county,
all right.
just local.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
that,
so that,
that would
Thank
be
you. So
resolution
yeah, there are a couple of
45.
blanks in that, okay?
Yeah.
If you want to take a look at them, maybe come back to us in September, we could
but
get
we-
that
oh
set
yeah,
up.
we're not having a meeting.
Well,
In September.
let's,
Okay.
we'll handle that after the bridge.
You know what, we already sent out our renewals for this past month, so
Yeah.
if they go out in September, as long as we're working on this, we're
Right.
compliant, you know, we're not, I mean, I already have it updated on my system, so it already has a blank there, so, you know, I'll just finish it off once you decide what shelter one, you know, decide
Okay.
to donate to.
Do you know if we have the ability to change that option at some point after we set it, or is it something that, so the question before, if you log
I
in,
think
so
so.
it changes,
I
right?
think so, I think we
Yeah.
can designate
Yeah.
a will, it's just you have to have
Yeah.
identified.
Okay,
Right,
One.
maybe like
Yeah.
after a year.
yeah.
The
No.
concept
Yeah.
is
Not saying
that
we we're necessarily
before
gonna
some,
wanna change if we make a decision, it's more just a question of,
Yeah, maybe you decide to change it at a different time.
yeah, the concept is that before somebody donates, they need to know who they're
Yes.
donating to.
Yes.
That's good, yeah. Okay,
Yeah, so September's,
Okay, good.
September for the pets.
Well, I'll probably get to it before then.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine, but for
Yeah.
like the resolution to choose, because then my renewals will go out September, or we can do it for
All
October.
right, what's this last resolution number?
Well, we're not gonna do it tonight.
Oh, we're not doing this?
No,
That'll be-
because you gotta come up with a recommendation, we gotta fill in the blanks.
next meeting.
So,
No, the dog thing.
Oh, yeah, I know.
The
I'm
bridge?
talking about the bridge, I'm moving on.
Yeah, I should be 45, I think.
You're tired, I'm tired.
So we're not gonna take action on the bond resolution because there's no numbers in the bond resolution. The reason there's no numbers is because we still have to resolve that one question, which is, are we going to maybe change any of the materials? And subsequently to the discussion that we had on this, I've been in touch with DOT. And so I'm pleased to report, I've reported to you all, but I've reported to the public that we are going to get another allocation of $507,000 towards this bridge project. So we will be in a better position to entertain. We're going out to bid again in September, right? We decided that at a previous meeting.
Right.
We were advised to do so by those engineers, HVEA. They sent us some alternatives, which,
Like value engineering alternatives?
well, you saw the stamped concrete
Yeah,
stuff and
yeah,
all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how others felt. I wasn't all excited about that block. I mean, I think I would prefer actually just continuing the open part of the bridge before that.
Guardrail's not so attractive.
So I wonder now that we have $507,000 more, if we want to keep the specs the way they are, if we want to make some value engineering changes. So what are your thoughts? Knowing that we need to decide by September.
By
So-
September,
Right,
by the first September meeting?
September 8th. 9/8.
Oh, you got time to design something.
Well, no, I mean, I looked
Well, we've
at
been
it,
talking about this for a
It's-
few months again, so I
I-
wanna remind
Valid.
everybody that, right?
valid.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's no difference between making a decision now and making a decision in September, then I would say let's make the decision in September. If it's, I mean, I looked at it, it's an important bridge. It's gonna be very sensitive to
Yeah, we had public info
I-
sessions, we met with neighbors,
believe it.
right, all that stuff.
I think it should be nice.
I think it should be nice, I agree, I agree. I
And
mean,
that's what the neighbors have asked.
Now,
Yeah.
now, you know, this is the considerations, the joy of being in these positions. That we heard about, you know, groups of taxpayers, groups of residents, these paying for those, and so on and so forth. And so the argument on the other hand, again, I'm not siding with one way or the other, is, hey, this is a small bridge used by just a portion of people in Linden Acres primarily, and why should the whole town pay for a stone facade, right? That's the other argument I've heard.
It's a through road though. It's not like a dead end street. And
Well, there's a couple of ways to go around it.
Yeah,
Look,
I
I side with
the stone.
Kenny on this one, yeah, of course.
Well,
it's
also
part
I
of the
side with,
character,
you know, we
but-
did a lot of work getting input from the public and the community.
Totally.
And to the extent we can afford to honor that, we should. And with another $500,000, I'm not so sure that that's going to be a problem. I mean,
From your mouth.
no, I mean, listen, we put it out for bid. The bid we got before was acceptable. It's just, I mean, in money wise, but not,
Right.
it didn't meet certain.
but we only got one.
And we only
That's
got
what I
one, but I guess my point is.
Well, I hope we get good bids. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I want more bids, but I don't have a high concern,
Oh,
especially now that we have more money.
I don't know, I
You know,
don't share your
the
confidence.
cheapest day to build anything
Yeah, it
was
is.
yesterday.
It was yesterday. Yeah, but we're not asking for
Well-
we're not asking for a gold-plated bridge, right? You know?
Yeah.
That's right.
Is there anything preventing us from putting the alternative into the RFP?
The which?
Putting an alternative. that
Oh,
says
alternative.
The stamped concrete is
I-
alternative to or
Well-
something like that.
I wouldn't, I think
Okay.
it's gonna be
Yes.
bad. I mean,
Okay.
Yes, there's a downside, which is TOT
Well, what about,
has to approve any changes that
I
we
mean,
make.
Okay.
So
what
if
about a
that,
design like, you know, not stamped concrete, but, you know, a nice finished concrete with a nice slate cap on top? Instead of the whole thing being stone, at least it's not this guardrail, but it's a, you know, like 2-inch.
We do the
You know,
stone facade like they
think,
did in Tivoli.
yeah,
so my
I-
opinion is
maintenance.
my opinion is that the design, like, I was looking at it not from a perspective of like critiquing the design, because I believe that that has already gone through its process and that's
Okay.
very important. But like, are there any other aspects? Like, are the culverts sized right? Are the footings, like,
Oh.
is it over-engineered in a way that we could pull back on anything that wouldn't affect the design intent? It would take more time to go through that, and a lot of times it costs more in engineering fees to make the revisions than
You're
you're gonna
spending money.
get in
Right.
savings, so.
you're
Um,
gonna push it a whole nother year.
I mean,
Yeah.
when we received that 6 inches of rain a week or so ago, what did it look like there?
Funny you should mention it, because your town supervisor drives around town and
So what-
and documents all the flooding, and it was such a hyper-local event, you know, I'm sure you read that Kinderhook broke records with 11 inches and whatever.
Right, right.
Tivoli had more and whatever.
So what, did you drive by that bridge?
I have pictures of the bridge.
Oh,
I have pictures of the bridge. That bridge, I have pictures of Stony Brook, I have pictures of Sing Sing.
okay.
Okay, I have all that because that's
So
what I do.
what that particular,
And interestingly enough, the bridge that we replaced on Stony Brook was having a hard time keeping up, and we had widened it. Remember that bridge? Were you?
Stony-
We widened it.
The Stony Brook Bridge.
Stony Brook,
They had to
the
redo
one
the-
that sent
Feels like it took forever.
the old Peter Swings house there, right by there. Stony Brook and Sangstead. They had to close Sangstead and Stony Brook.
oh,
You know that bridge.
They basically had to read the supports.
That was having a hard time keeping up. The amount of water that, because, right, the Stony Creek comes from the north.
right,
And there was all that water from the north, Germantown, right? And our bookkeeper had lakefront property, couldn't get out, she needed somebody to pick her up.
And the Salt Kill Bridge.
And that one was keeping up for the
the
moment.
one in Linden
But,
Acres.
yes, but you have to remember, you know, soils and hydric soils and water, you know, as good as anybody. we had tremendous amounts of rain, not nearly what Tivoli had, not nearly what Germantown, not nearly what Kinderhook, but what we did have was dryness previous to that. So it was able to absorb a fair amount.
Right.
So it really wasn't a good indication. Let's see in April, if we get one of those rains, what that's like.
What did it look like when Hurricane Irene hit?
Yes.
Because that dumped like 14 inches, right?
Well, it was Irene and Lee, and that was when we had the devastation.
Right.
It's the
So
back
it's
to back.
Sandy?
1 week
Would that be
behind.
it?
Well, Sandy was south, I'm talking.
But then he came up the Hudson though, didn't he?
Yeah, but Irene dumped more water than,
Oh, he did?
yeah,
Oh,
than
wait,
Sandy.
what was your bottom line though?
Yeah, it held up, you said.
That it held up, but I think it
But it
held
was
up
dry
in part
before, so the
because,
ground wasn't-
remember, the Salt Hill comes from a very different place than where the Stony Brook comes from. So that hyper-local event
Yeah.
was a huge difference between, well, you saw the damaged photos in Germantown,
Yeah, I know.
right? So,
Something to think about.
if I understand where we are, consensus is, we're gonna continue with the specs the way they are unless somebody has a better idea that they wanna propose at the September meeting. Better get me that idea quickly because it'll need to be reviewed by DOT, and let me tell you, you're
Yeah,
talking months.
that's not realistic.
It's
You're right.
not realistic.
It's not realistic. We
whatsoever.
should just approve it.
Yeah.
We should just send it back out.
Okay, so we're gonna let HVEA know, we're gonna go out back to bid, same specs, fingers crossed, hopefully more contractors. Look, if we have to just continue to reject bids till we get a reasonable quote, then that's what we'll have to do.
Is that a motion?
Yeah. A motion to direct the supervisor to communicate to HVA that we are not going to change the specs and that we are prepared to go out for rebid at our September 18th.
Did you make that motion?
Well, I can't have a motion that
So
directs
moved.
me.
So moved.
What do you think?
Second?
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, all in favor? Kenny?
Aye.
William?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Christina and Jake?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, I think we have correspondence on here, but did we have correspondence?
That was the housing committee stuff.
That was the housing stuff. We went through that.
Did you have,
Before we go, don't forget we
Historic
want
Red
to
Hook?
address the.
did you have historic record on there?
So I don't have historic Red Hook on the agenda,
Oh, that's
but
right.
I sent that to you. I work on budget stuff year-round, and I'm preparing the tentative budget worksheets with the bookkeeper for the departments. We'll be meeting with the departments, looking over all that stuff. I need to do all of that in context of any and everything that we might consider having in the budget so we understand what's available to us. Historic Red Hook has asked for some funding support, and it seems to me a year 250. It's surprising that this is the first year that they've done that. And they're a real asset to the community, the Elmendorf, and so on and so forth. Describing their programs, there's history series, there's speakers and whatever. For folks at home, a reminder, we provide the funding for the community center. We provide funding for other entities, senior services, so on and so forth. Red Hook responds.
What are they asking?
And it's just like 10 grand that they're looking for, between 10 and 13,000. So if you would review that, and let's come back to this, because I would like to, if you are supportive, I would like to create a budget line for this, because I think it's such an important institution in our community.
And the budget is in September, right?
Well, there's a whole series of
Yeah.
deadlines, but I prepare the tentative each and every year for your consideration.
budget
And then we do a
workshop.
budget workshop, and then we do move
But
to
that's all
preliminary,
right.
that's the public hearing.
But that's all in
So you'll get
September.
all that scheduled once you get your packet, your booklet. All will be laid out for you for the timeline. But it's good for me to know, which brings me to the next point, which is the Camp Rising Sun pool is going really well. People are finally like knowing about it coming and doing, there's no Canadian smoke, there's no terrible storms, although we could probably have had better weather. So people love it. They're starting, John in his report, I think noted they're starting to use the trails as well. It's been working out quite well. So I did ask Jill if it's an option, Jill from the foundation, if it's an option for next year, and she said yes, we'll always keep you in mind. So that was kind of a non-committal, but
Yeah, it's not rights of first refusal.
no, that's not right of first refusal, but give me some guidance on that if you would, please, because, I would put the budget line in for that if that's something we consider, and then if it didn't materialize, and the money would go in a budget adjustment towards something else, I'm sure. That's all I've got for now. Before we leave,
I'm standing up.
stand up. Before we leave, it's not even 11 o'clock then. Before we leave, we do need to make a motion, make ourselves available. Should we need a special meeting, put a motion to cancel the scheduled meeting for August 26th. Did we get that right?
No.
Yes, yes.
Did I get that wrong?
No,
right.
that's the correct
26th.
date.
It's the 26th?
Yep.
Wednesday, August 26th.
Okay.
Right. It was fair.
It was on the 25th.
I probably would miss that meeting unless it rained.
Okay.
Because
So-
I have to be at the fair.
Fair.
Who's moving it?
Well, what time in the morning do you finish
I'll move it, Deanna.
Thank you.
Because we've done meetings at 8.
Thanks, Jacob.
But then I'm there till.
All in favor? Discussion, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
5-0.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh,
Motion
yeah.
to adjourn.
Second.
Before we make a
Kenny.
motion to adjourn,
Bye.
good night all, stay healthy, enjoy what's left of summer. We'll see you back here on September 8th, if not sooner. With that being said, this future grandpa wishes you all a good evening and a motion to close the meeting.
Second.
Oh, I
Well,
aye.
Already made.
Christine.
We're ready to.
Yes.
Yeah, we did it.
I think we're all on the same page on that.
Good night all.